Confirm your age.
You did away with the.
What's your date of birth?
June 27th, 1988.
27th.
Oh, we.
What did I do away with?
Well,
88.
Yeah.
June. I knew that.
You did,
I
yeah.
don't even have to ask that.
It's fine. I forgot what the fuck I was gonna say.
Facial age estimation. We're gonna do that. We're gonna take my picture and we're gonna see if it says that you're old as fuck now.
I don't know, all fucking done up like that. You look like a young man.
No. Move your hat. Keep your glasses on. Got it.
I wonder. I guess it's been quite a while since we went live on that one. Oh, you did away with the Smoking Oak intro or what? Said fuck that.
It's still on the computer.
Oh.
If we go directly into YouTube, it doesn't do that, right?
Oh, that was StreamYard or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Holy fuck! You could really go up there.
Right. What's this? Are we just closing in on 2 years, or are we over 2 years of trying to do this, and we still don't have nothing figured out?
Nothing. I can't fucking do this. Go. Do your thing.
But
Yeah, you fucking piece of shit. That's not working. Confirm your age. You got a driver's license on you?
well, I do, yeah. Does it need a driver's license?
Well, that's the other option. You can't stick your face in that hole.
Well, pass it here. Oh. Okay. All right. Next.
Farming with treasures. Hey, how you doing? We're struggling at life here again.
Open camera. Got it. Allow. Oh,
Oh, look at that.
we weren't following it. How you doing up there, Jeremy? Age confirmed. Right. Oh, it's gonna go. It's gonna go. I guess I could have just handed it to you.
We could have done that, yeah. Just gonna sit there. Maybe.
Is that what we had done?
There we go.
Something like that.
All right.
Then I think this way. There we go. Now some. All right.
Then the comments pop up.
But we got to make sure that green light is green up there. If it's not green, it's no connection.
Let's see.
All
Are we striding? Right. Yeah, we are riding the struggle. We're driving the struggle bus right now. So
We were just saying I think I don't know if we're at 2 years, over 2 years, closing in on 2 years, in and around 2 years.
I'm not
anyways,
sure.
Trying to do these, and still, it's just like day one.
Day one every time.
Although I would say arguably day one was actually better because we just had 2 phones, plastic table, a couple of cigarillos,
Easy peasy.
bottle of Appleton Estates.
Yep.
Life was good. We actually had a pretty good dialogue prepared. I forget what the first ever one was. Maybe cost of shopping local or something.
I can't even remember. It was that long
It
ago.
was a long time ago. But anyways,
Yeah.
it's good. We got finally some time before it gets busy. You slowed down at work obviously a little bit.
I don't know if I slowed down at work, but maybe you just stopped giving as many.
Time management.
A little bit of time management. A little bit
Managed
of
a little better.
delegation. Effective delegation, I think, is probably the biggest thing.
Sure.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I know we were
So the only one. Yeah, you are. The only one in the comment section. There's a couple people coming in. So,
Yeah, usually we find that we get it's like almost a 10 o'clock crowd.
that's usually how, they settle in. They got their cup of tea, cheese and crackers, pull the covers up, go for a live stream.
If you're in here, let us know. Toss out a comment there so
Yeah.
we can
Whether you're on YouTube or if
Keep
you're
that-
over here on TikTok. let
keep
us
the
know.
momentum going. We're going to we got We got cigars right from Nicaragua this evening. Just arrived, just landed on Tuesday, actually. So they're still very moist.
What did we say this was? A Corona 6x44 ring gauge, I think.
I thought you said 40, but maybe you said 44.
A Hoyanica.
It's one of the smaller ones for sure. But I expect it's going to have I expect you're going to get about a 2-hour burn out of this.
You're thinking? Yeah.
I like it. Like it doesn't. When you squish it, it doesn't crack at all. Like this
it's
what's that?
perfectly humidified. The ball cap of the Dapper suit is devious. Yeah, we do like to live on the edge just a little bit. Yeah.
We got not all of
Rules
us,
only exist to be broken, right? That's how that works.
I do a little shameless marketing, and then not all of us have a real impressive head of hair. So to spare the general public, we just put a hat on.
I kind of have the opposite problem. I can't keep my hair from fucking going gray. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I can't keep it on my head. So
Yeah.
anyways, but it doesn't really matter. I don't get too. I just like this. I just like these hats. You see,
They are
that's
nice
what I'm
hats,
working
yeah.
with here. So
beautiful.
I mean,
hats.
it's okay. I could sit here without a hat. It wouldn't bother me. But I just like it.
Yeah,
I
it's
always
comfy.
wear a hat.
Whatever makes comfortable, right?
Right? It's like the scotches, right? What's the best way to drink scotch?
However the fuck you want.
What's the best way to wear a suit? How many buttons you do? Fuck.
We might differ on that
Well,
one.
but they like who was it? Christopher Walken. I
Yeah.
seen, and he was one. He's like, look at this fucking guy. He does all his buttons up. He bought them all.
Sure.
Fuck, do them all up. Whatever. Like,
Yeah.
You know, same with your steak, right? We talked
You know
about
where
that
the
in one
buttons?
live.
You know where the buttons comes from?
I don't.
King George was a notorious glutton, actually,
Okay.
and so he would, eat like a king,
Right.
and then always undo the bottom button just so that you could breathe.
Okay.
And it became a fashion because he was, kind of a fashionable guy.
Right.
That set the standard for the next 200 years,
The more you know.
just like that.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
So now today we still bottom button of the waistcoat
Can't be done up.
can't be done up.
Interesting.
Bottom button of the suit jacket still should not be
Right.
done up.
What did they say? Sometimes,
Sometimes, always, never.
Sometimes, always, never.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, well, because I was looking at that, and I think I might have been looking for, why the sometimes, always, never, and yeah, it shows like, I guess really, it's just in life, why would you do things that would make you uncomfortable because, there's a stigma to it or a stereotype against it or a tradition to it. It's just nonsense.
Yeah, I mean,
Right? Remember we were talking about steak.
Sure.
Oh, if you put anything on your steak, you're a grade A friggin' asshole.
Yeah, you're a terrible human
and you
being.
think so you're gonna go your whole entire life,
Yeah.
not using the green bullseye barbecue sauce because
somebody told you
you're
so.
self-conscious about what people might think about you eating this
The
steak
people-
in the privacy of your own home.
Yeah, the people that aren't going to taste your steak, that
Right.
aren't even there to watch you, right?
I had one guy say, "Well, I thought you claimed you have the best meat in the world." I said, "I do. I have a whole freezer full of it."
Yeah.
Which means I can put whatever
Whatever
the fuck
the
I want
hell
on
I
it.
want on there.
And if one day I don't want to put anything on it, I won't.
We made some beautiful steak the other day. A couple ribeyes, one side seasoned up with lemon pepper, the other side seasoned with Weatherford spice. Seared it in the cast iron pan, baked it in the oven for about 20 minutes. It was done just perfect.
Was it?
Yeah, it was just great. And then about medium, and then sesame sauce from what's that place? The Sawmill.
Sawmill, right? That is good
That
stuff.
stuff is like dangerously good. So I don't care how people eat their steak as long as they keep buying it. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah. So
What is that?
colonization of YouTube Shorts, March 25th. Spread the word. I'm not even sure what that means.
Oh, I seen the first word. I remember
We did have one fellow that was all about
four lives. Yeah, and he was just like,
colonization.
we just went down that road.
Yeah. I think
That
he maybe thought perhaps that we were something we were not,
Right.
and was maybe looking for something that wasn't there.
Sure.
So-
100% he was.
Yeah.
He was. And yeah, it's interesting what people take at first glance on the internet. I was going to ask you about your buddy, Garen Newen.
Oh,
You see what happened to that gentleman?
isn't that a sin? Hey.
Did you watch what people went nuts about?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I did.
you and I keep it pretty tame, but we have been fucking way further down the road than that.
Way further down
Right?
the road.
I
Yeah.
feel so bad for
Yeah.
that guy. There must be something else. He didn't just leave because of that.
Well, I mean, he's not on the same scale we're on. Let's be honest, right? Like his following is huge,
Right? That's
right? So when the internet comes for you and I, it's usually a handful of people, and it could be
Sure.
like, yeah, go eat your shorts or whatever, right? But when the internet come for him, like it was like 50,000 people.
But
Yeah.
I guess, and I seen that. I was watching that when we were coming home from Edmonton, because I throw my phone on and I just let it play over the speakers, so I didn't just scroll through. But I was, I get what you're saying, but what, on the other hand, was there not like hundreds of thousands of people to come to his defense?
Well, I feel that there certainly was, but maybe they're a little bit late to the game. By the time they realize what was unfolding, then they come to his defense. But it's already kind of like the bad news is already there, right? The character assassination has already occurred, and so I mean, I feel terrible for the guy because he's legitimately a funny guy, the nicest guy, the most well-meaning guy.
The internet was a better place,
and
for
it
him being on it.
really was, right? And he even said at the end of his video, I'm sure people will take this out of context.
He did.
Right? And needless to say, they did as predicted, right? So
That's too bad.
yeah, it is really, I mean, we all kind of thought the cancel culture was done, but
And I
maybe
guess
not.
to a certain extent, I mean, the guy's obviously done very well, and maybe that's enough. I mean, I often wonder why people drag themselves. I mean, fucking last prime minister.
right?
Why submit yourself?
Why
to
go
that
for so long? Yeah.
when you're already wealthy and life
Right.
is basically could be a breeze,
Sure.
right? I mean, you can spend your days bouncing from island to island to island, or you can spend your days having an entire nation drag your fucking name through the mud and
just flags and all kinds of stuff.
Right?
I
don't know.
They got
I don't think
T-shirts
I would do
made,
it,
the whole 9 yards. Yeah,
but that's crazy.
it's quite the show. Yeah, I feel bad for that guy because how could you not have an opinion on Ireland? Ireland's it's a really good example of this because it is a small island nation. That it is absolutely true. It's gotten richer and richer and richer. The population's gone up, and it has become less and less safe to live there. Now, part of that is because of immigration. Part of that is because of inaction by the government, and
Sure.
not applying the appropriate resources, policing, community support, whatever. Right? Not dealing with drugs, not dealing with the justice system, all of that. So,
Right.
Feels super bad for the guy, but yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he'll come out on the other side. I mean,
that wasn't. It's not like he just made TikTok videos saying that he was delicious. Like, I mean, he does other stuff. Like, he's a really good musician,
right?
So
Yeah,
that was just kind of. I'm thinking that was just a side hustle for him, but that's really how we kind of came to know and love that guy, right? So,
right. It was for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I had never seen his music until I seen his TikTok, and then
yeah.
Like, who is this guy? But
Yeah.
it was very. But as is the case, I'm sure
We all have our time.
there will be a return. I suspect he's probably just regrouping. Maybe it was time. I think it was about two weeks ago. I was just like, I gotta shut this down. Like all of it, all of the social media, and it wasn't any attacks or anything I was getting. I just couldn't. I find it very hard to read through. I don't spend so much time on the articles or even the content, but a lot of time into the comment sections.
Sure.
And I'm just so confused at how we are so polarized and divided. And especially when the facts are out there that have been proven. You don't have to like them, but they are. Right? I mean, when something is proven to be the case,
oh yeah.
then now you have to just make that concession, like, oh, okay, I guess if it's for or against your beliefs or whatever, it doesn't matter. And people still, I don't care what they say, I'm not buying it. And you're like, well, then where do we go?
Right. Where do we go?
We just fight.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
just fight.
There's
forever.
no compromise. There's just me and there's just you, and that's just a sinful way to live, really.
It's
right?
terrible.
Like,
Absolutely terrible.
create a whole bunch of unnecessary angst, in people's lives for what? Just to be right.
Just to be well, and more often than not, we see now just to be provocative, right? There's professional provocateurs, and they just exist to make your skin crawl.
Yeah, they're like the happiness vampires, essentially, right? So, is this a club?
This is a club.
This is
what do they call them? Exclusive or whatever, where it's like only.
Yeah, very exclusive, elite
exclusive.
Yeah,
probably the most exclusive.
There's
existing, certainly existing this far north.
No memberships.
She's pretty wild here.
It's membership of 2.
It's a membership of 2.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was boy, it's interesting. If you, I guess almost nobody on TikTok will understand. Although, so the genius behind a lot of the Smoking Oak TikToks is this man right here. I am nowhere near that creative, but I find it hilarious. We are not tech savvy at all, so this started with 2 independent YouTube channels. Is how it started. 2 independent TikToks as well. And then we thought people were sort of, I guess, enjoying our non-egg side. So our oil patch side, our idea of humor and stuff like that. So we kind of consolidated that. And then Smoking Oak was born. It was also born out of some of these finance bros just yapping, running their mouths
just talking
all the
shit.
time.
Yeah, I get up at 4:00 in the morning. I eat steak.
You better have 32 rental properties by the time you're 20 years old.
I run 4-hour micro days, so I get 6 days out of every 24 hours.
And we were chatting about that at one day. Mr. Old Dan there.
Dan Pena.
Running around wearing suits, calling everybody a bunch of this, that, and the next fucking thing. Total nonsense, total gibberish. The only one in the world who knows, aside from the gentleman who made Bitcoin, but who the man that made Bitcoin is, and told us all as soon as we found that out, it would go straight to fucking zero. I'm pretty sure that was about 5 years ago.
Still wonder who that fella is.
But anyways, hello from Wisconsin. Hi, Wisconsin.
Oh, hey, Adam.
So yeah, this was all born out of a bunch of that stuff. Also, I guess we were getting stir crazy at home during COVID. No place to go, nothing to do.
That was kind of it was the tail end of that.
So what should we do?
We should. Yeah.
Neither one of us smoked or drank.
You don't want to go to the bar and buy a $9 whiskey.
No, especially when you don't drink.
Actually, we were, especially then, we were in Banff this year. We took a skiing trip, but everybody else went skiing. $18 for a fucking old fashioned. I wonder why we settle in at home.
Mint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mint. And you can't see so well on TikTok, but yeah, in behind us is a whole entire wall of scotch. I believe there's 37 bottles up there that we've tried so far. No, we haven't tried them all.
There's a couple that they're still sealed.
There's one.
The one we're going to have this evening. The Glenlivet 14.
We've also never finished a bottle. We've had some pretty good ones.
Right.
We've never dabbled into the tremendous dollar ones yet. We'll get there someday.
We're not a whiskey. Someday. What is that? We're not a whiskey collector. We're a whiskey enthusiast.
Yeah.
Because we don't.
There was 3.
We're not a whiskey drinker.
There's drinkers, collectors, and there's
buyers.
No, that's collectors. But trade. Yeah, I don't know. There was
people that buy it to trade it, right? And then there's people that buy it to hold it,
right?
There's people that buy it just to drink it,
to try it,
and then there's people that buy it just to try it for the sake of trying it,
right?
Yeah, and I think we're somewhere in the middle there, but just having it, but we don't ever need to see the bottom of the bottle, right?
Although a few, what was it, last year or a year before that? Yeah, we actually were, and we still might do this in the future, but we were going down the road to actually barrel up our own whiskey.
I mean that there's still
so. We got time. We got lots of time.
We're still a young man.
We should have done it because we'd been 2 years into it already.
Yeah.
So we could have opened it next year potentially, or 2 years. I think 3, 5, or 10 or whatever were options.
You supply the grain, I'll supply the well water.
So that would be pretty cool. Like it would be. Yeah. It would be pretty neat to have a few hundred bottles of your own.
Can you imagine if we just that half of the room was just bottles of whiskey? Because how many would that be? That'd be a couple hundred bottles.
I think it was 200.
Yeah.
I think it was 200 if I remember right.
Whew, we need to build more shelves.
So that would be cool. That would be very cool. We just about did that. And then, You know, with him, I think we just got busy. Like with the winter, we didn't have a winter last year. This year,
There was no winter. You're right.
We had more of a winter, but we still spent a lot of time getting stuff done. And then you got super busy with work. I was super busy. We tried to do this as much as we could, and then, I don't know why the last 2 years the flu and everything has been hitting me really hard a couple times a winter, and it just hasn't worked out.
It hasn't worked out, yeah.
So
yeah,
we'll get back to it.
But that's given me a little bit of time for the folks that have seen Smoking Oak on YouTube before. Redecorated.
Quite a bit different. The fireplace, I just can't. It's just rocking in the back.
Yeah, that worked out really good, actually.
So,
I like that. Yeah.
It's very, very much a nice space up here now.
Yeah.
He's got this whole wall done. You can't see all of it, but it is
all painted.
It is uptown.
It's tough with the lighting in here, but if you're in here in person, it's a nice like hunter green. It's just gorgeous.
A lot of folks in the start when we put this out there that we were planning something. They thought we were building a man cave.
Man cave, yeah. My wife even said that to me the other day. She said, "Man," she used that term, man cave. I don't think she knows what happens here.
And the funny thing was, we had a totally different idea, and we were texting back and forth, even around the logo. And then everybody thought when we planned this, and when we both thought of doing something exactly like this, right? And then so it was interesting to see that we weren't about neon lights and colorful calendars and all that stuff. It was going to be.
Yeah, you don't need, like you say, the neon lights. You don't need to come up and watch the football game.
No.
You don't need, beer posters or
no
whatever, right? So
it was very, very much going to be.
I certainly don't need a comfortable place to sit there with my headphones on and fucking play video games or whatever. Sure. Fuck that, right? Somewhere to come, find some peace, breathe, enjoy some good company, have a nice cigar. Good whiskey.
Yeah, cigar and a whiskey. The other.
That's a whole nother level of refinement.
Well, it is
a whole nother level of relaxation.
And totally out of left field. Like I said, neither one of us were drinkers or smokers.
Who would have thought? Hey.
And we thought, what can we do in this space, right? Originally, it was just two idiots in hoodies smoking cigarillos, drinking rum. That was the first one. Yeah. And then it was just like, no, we got to do. And as it all came about,
I think we did like 2 or 3 like that, hey?
And we did a couple up here, right?
We did do a
before
couple
anything was done.
Before anything was built, this is for the folks at home that don't know, the mezzanine in the shop, right? So this was just a handrail,
right?
We just looked down. There's a tractor, like literally 10 steps from here.
There is. So we caught some shit for that. What, three lives ago or whatever from some guy, and missed that mark too. Like, where else are you going to do this? You're not going to do this in your home with your little kids and your wife.
Yeah,
right?
I know there's definitely some folks that they want to have smoking rooms in their house, right? I see a lot of folks on the cigar pages online, like, how do you get the smell out of your house? Well, the best way to get the smell out of your house is just to not fucking put it in your house.
Put your humidor and your ashtray in the shop.
In the shop, it's got steel walls. Everything's hard surfaces. You can wipe it down. You got good airflow.
Right? That's exactly it.
You put it in your house where it's like permeating into your soft furnishings and your drywall.
And it's 100%. I mean, the shell of where you're in is irrelevant if it's a house or a shop. But, it was a few summers. I think it was 2 summers ago. We had the door open. It was beautiful.
Yeah, gorgeous.
We were up here and it was just like.
Get fresh air.
Oh, man. Yeah. I missed one up there. I can't see that one. But someone asked, what kind of US is this or something?
Real U.S. join.
Oh, you missed it there.
Oh, really?
Right there. What
kind of USA is this? Oh, well, I'll be sad to tell you, but we're not in the U.S. of A.
There's a couple right there. You can see that we're not in the USA.
Yeah, not red, white, and blue for sure. But
I like the study concept, and then the shop is awesome. The shop is absolutely perfect. That's just really the icing on the cake because once we shut her down, we finish up the after party. Very little tidying up, and off we go. There's nobody going to be offended by the mess we leave or anything like that. It's
actually super easy. Usually the next morning I come in, I take the ashtray, I dump it in the garbage, wash it out, wash the cups, come put the cups back up here, put the whiskey that we drank back up on the shelf, and done.
Right.
See you in 2 months.
You don't have, yeah.
I wish
you
it
don't-
was.
you
I wish
don't-
it was sooner than that, but
It's good. Yeah, it's gonna get sooner. There's gonna be You don't have to Febreze anything or
yeah.
It's just it's good. It's
That's
really
right.
good.
Yeah. But yeah, so the flag's behind. Obviously, we're in Canada. I grew up in the UK. That's where the Union Jack comes from. So we're not in the US of A. But you are in the USA and you're watching. Welcome to Smoke and Oak. We're probably going to talk about each other.
We're definitely going to.
How's it cut?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Slice nice, eh?
It did. Like I don't even know.
Good
Maybe
drop.
someone is anybody even on there? We got this box was sealed, cellophane sealed,
Yeah.
like factory sealed. But when we opened it, we didn't cut that seal.
This seal right here was cut.
So, but the cellophane was tight. It hadn't been tampered with. So I'm wondering, do they open these things up at the duty free shops or whatever?
I want to say no. I want to say that's suspicious.
Very.
You know, that's what my gut tells me is that I can't think of a reason for that seal to be broken prior to putting the cellophane on, unless they opened it and then re-put the cellophane back on. Why would you do that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe
We're
that's
going to
maybe that's where the booger sugar. Maybe they're checking for that, right? I'm not sure.
I have a feeling, if anything, it's something to do with that. But as we said earlier, even a knockoff cigar from South America is going to be better than.
Oh yeah,
It's going to be better than that.
even
So-
smoking banana leaves from some
Right.
guy on the beach in Mexico is better than DeMaurier lights for sure.
So I'm going to.
So
Well, that's it. I'm going to spark this up.
yeah,
The smell. We didn't. That's another thing we're going to have to get back to. We used to do a really good synopsis on the cigars.
but
and the Scotch.
we wouldn't have this in the book. Like this,
I doubt it.
This is not in the book for
I
sure.
doubt it.
Yeah,
But
but yeah, 6-inch, 44 ring gauge. It's a Corona. It's supposed to be earthy, spicy, oily.
right, usually there's leather in there. We get
It does not really smell too much like a grain truck. It does
No.
smell earthy though, for
those.
sure.
Those are usually our go-to points on a cigar. Like,
Yeah.
it smells like a mouse nest that was behind an old bench seat in an old 1970.
Smells like the inside of your
International.
grandpa's leather glove, right? Those are the good ones.
Right, like if you're at one of those old town days and you walk in and you open up one of those desks, it's just stagnant wood rot in there.
Mm-hmm.
Those usually make the best cigars. So
Well, let's toast her up. I need to bleed this one. It's certainly
that one's got a lot of pap.
burning a little funny though.
So if you're in there on YouTube and you end up popping in and you're new, leave us a comment. Let us know where you're from. Well, that smells good.
I might have cut a little farther up the shoulder on this one. I tried to nip just the cap, but
I didn't even think of that.
it does feel like it wants to start to unwind a little bit. So gonna have to get the old postage stamp tongue out and
right. Moisten
lather it
a
up.
little bit. Could dip it in a fine Scotch.
And what are we having this evening?
So we have got Glenlivet 14. Don't even know where this come from. We are losing our ability to maintain order around here.
We should actually have
There's-
we should have a running inventory.
There's just no way.
Where did they all come from?
It's just been too far.
We definitely did start with that. We did that with the cigars. We did that with the whiskey. We knew the whole backstory on where they were bottled, the history on the distillery, where the water came from, all of that stuff.
So, In 1824, George Smith established a distillery in the remote and wild valley of the Glenlivet. Ever since, his smooth flowing whiskey has been regarded as the definitive single malt whiskey. Since 1824.
I don't care who you are. That is a damn fine cigar.
These are good, eh?
Yeah.
These are really good.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though. I think because I drove mine right down into this desktop cutter, and it was way too deep.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
This reminds me of the Monte Cristo #2.
Sure.
Yeah.
Selectively finished in cognac casks to give a rich and intense flavor. So, and we know, well, I guess we can assume
That is good.
it's 14 years old
14.
at least. So, I guess it's 14, right?
It's just
Because
14.
if anybody doesn't understand that, once it's out of the cask and into the bottle,
Doesn't age
it
anymore.
doesn't matter. This
Yeah.
could be on your shelf for 100 years. It's 14 years old. There is no more aging out of the cask. Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that really changes the flavor after that is oxygenation. So if you haven't turned it and wet your cork every once in a while, your cork starts to disintegrate. What are you doing?
I ripped a big chunk off with my dry lip, so I'm gonna dip it.
Oh, you're
I
gonna
will
give it the old dipperoo.
If you pass me your glass, I would love to pour you one.
Sure, that would be an honor.
Squeaky cork or not?
I think squeaky.
Oh,
Oh, just a little squeaker.
That's for you.
Oh, that smells very fruity.
There you are.
Thanks, sir.
And here we go.
We got new dinosaur water tonight.
That's going to be something interesting for the folks on the
Folks on YouTube that don't know the story or TikTok.
They don't know about the noggin. Oh, this goes down here.
Mm-hmm.
The noggin or where it come from.
Oh my goodness, that is just a splash of heaven.
Is it good?
Oh, it's so good.
Did you drop some water in there?
I didn't. No, just straight, just a little nip.
It smells good. Apple,
It's
apple, right
very
there.
appley. Yeah,
We do
kind
find
of like apple and cherry pie is what that reminds me of.
when you go a little bit darker, we do find the scotches get a little bit better. The more pale they get, they seem to be like more
Burn.
bitter.
Yeah,
I don't know
burn,
what
yeah.
the word is. These ones, there's ones we have back there, Downmoors, and there's another one they're almost like dessert, like you could just drink them.
Yeah, there's the Glenmorangie sherry cask. There's
Sure.
one. That's really nice. Yeah.
And then there's a few like there's a few that are just hard.
Yeah, you get some of the cask strength ones too. They're just 46% ABV or 50%. It's tough. But yeah, so that's what the noggin is for. So if you find yourself with a whiskey that's maybe a little bit too peaty, too smoky, just a bit too much VOCs coming off of it, a little too volatile, you can just add a little drop of water, tames it down a little bit, opens up the flavor profile. You can really enjoy it. Now this water here, previously, I had gone to the Athabasca Glacier and taken melt water off the Athabasca Glacier, which was snow that fell 10,000 years ago and melted or is now melting today. We used all of that water, and so I cracked another one today out of, if I can get it out of this jug right here, which was came from a waterfall in Banff National Park. So pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's about as refined as you can really get up here.
Yeah.
For what we're doing.
You want to tame your whiskey down? It's like literally water from a waterfall in the Rocky Mountains.
Well, it's funny, but they it's actually quite impressive. It's quite a thing. Remember they were canning air and sending it to China.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember
that was a thing.
That was the thing. They were canning air.
And it's extending fresh air.
Sending fresh air. Like I know they were talking about it on the news. They said it was a big market for pregnant women and stuff like that. Just pop that open.
You just get a little blast in the face.
Right. And I mean, sounds a little bit out there, but I mean, there's a lot of people going to oxygen bars and things like that. So
Right, I guess.
I mean-
It reminds me of the Lorax. You ever watch that movie?
I haven't.
You got kids,
I
right?
do, yeah.
Yeah. There's a fellow on there, O'Hare's air. And that's what they do. They bottle air, and yeah,
It's interesting.
quite the thing. Bit
Well,
of
I
a
know
joke.
if you're stressed,
I think the Rams are fighting out back.
I just about had a heart attack.
Yeah, is the building coming down, or what was that?
A little dip in the whiskey that'll
Yeah.
cure that. That'll cure that rap.
You think? Okay,
Well,
well,
yeah.
let's just have a little.
So yeah, top shelf cigar so far. We're not even close to being done the first third. Only a few puffs in, but that is fine. And the whiskey, this might. So we were talking before the live what we were going to do, and I said, well, we're going to try a new cigar. Let's just revisit an old favorite. And mine to date is still the Dalmore 12 year. That was the first, might have been arguably the coolest box we bought.
And the
Off the
story
start.
behind it is amazing.
And the story was really cool. The bottle is beautiful. I mean, those empty bottles I think sell for $35.
Just the bottle is $35. Yeah.
So, and then so you can see now we've got from the 12 to the 15 to the cigar malt, and then the
King Alexander III.
King Alexander III in the big box there. Crazy enough, that's probably my least favorite, the King Alexander. We'd have to one day we're gonna have to
That's
do
the
a flight.
oldest one, though,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know if it's the oldest. It's the most.
Most prestigious,
Prestigious.
for sure. Yeah.
I don't even know if it had an age on it. I mean, it must, but we might have to do a quick flight one night. Just 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right. I watched a video today on TikTok. It was funny. It was like 2 waters, 1 tequila, but the guy that was drinking it, just taking the shots, had to keep a straight face, and then people had to guess
Mm-hmm.
which one was the water and which one was the tequila.
How'd
And
that
he
go?
went bam, 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 and he was like, "You fuckers, all 3 were tequila." He did good though, but you could see round number 2, his eye twitched, and on the third one, his lip kind of curled a little bit. So I got to give him credit. It was pretty funny. He's like, "I got to work after this."
Oh, cigars always smell better than they taste. I find. I would say the opposite, Jeremy. We find these things most often smell like ashtrays of old
They
grain
do.
trucks. Now burning, they smell good. Like you
Yeah.
walk by a
Yeah.
bar or something, a
Yeah.
cigar bar. Yeah, that the aroma of the burn is good. But I definitely find they taste better than they smell. And ironically, the worse they smell when you first open them and cut them, seem the better that they taste.
That's right.
What do we got here? I'm glad I wandered into this. Yeah, we're glad too. I mean, tell your friends about it. This is a good time. It's always a good time. We've had a few evenings over the last
Yeah.
few years with some really intense, long dialogue conversations, and we definitely appreciate you guys throwing stuff in there, asking questions, sparking up topics, whatever you want to know. There's nothing off limits here.
Still got a good connection over here. Yeah.
On again, off again, winner. Just trying to keep betting under the cows. Fixing on the 1066. Are you staying out of trouble? Oh, I have
1066. How do you like that tractor? We got a 1086 downstairs. It's quite the gem, actually.
It's like
I
tractor.
really enjoy that tractor. Yeah. And same struggles here. Trying to keep dry straw under everything. We're in the middle of lambing season. We had some
I'm going 10,000 years back.
We had some triplets, we had a set of twins, a couple singles, and we're fully immersed in the twice a night checks. Get up at 5 a.m., check again. Try not to work too far from home. Could be going sideways, but I had to pull one this morning, actually. And then the twin to it actually just literally fell right out of the back end.
Oof.
It was the first one was big. Yeah.
So I definitely got to hand it to you producers. That's not my thing. I wasn't made for any of that stuff.
Well, that kind of is your thing, though. Like they're getting that big birth weights. That's on your feed, right? That's your grain, your molasses.
Yeah, but dealing with it,
I kind
it's not me.
of swear by that actually. For good birth weights, good low mortality rates makes a big difference.
I was just down and I just got back on
You went to the conference?
Friday night. Yeah, I was at.
For the,
Boy, did I get fucking sidelined there too. They so it was Thursday night. They had a showing of a world without cows. Apparently, that's a What's going on over here? You can take that one.
Hey, Marcus. We're just having a cigar and a whiskey. We're talking about the world's problems, trying to solve a few of them as we go. Welcome to the show.
So yeah, we had that.
A world without cows.
A world without cows. It was an hour and a half. Like, I don't know if you can call it like a documentary. It was like an infomentary. It wasn't
like, was it a show or did somebody come up and present?
No, it was a movie that, like, I think Master Feed's parent company paid some people to make. So
sure.
Anyways, that was a Thursday night thing. Then we had some drinks, and then Friday was the conference. But so I've been to a few of these things, not just with Master Feeds, but with some other vendors and stuff that we have. And I've always gone alone. And this time, Corey was like, "Yo, I want to come to this one." And I was like,
"Sure."
But she wanted to leave Wednesday.
Okay.
Well, fuck. What the hell are we gonna? Because I can leave in the morning and be in Red Deer. Like,
yeah. Boom. Gone.
So we should stay in Edmonton tonight. So okay, well, so that's no big deal. Split up the drive, I guess. Stayed in Edmonton, and I was like, "Well, what do you want? Like, when do you want to leave Edmonton? Because we only got to be in Red Deer for like 4. Well, I want to go to Driving Force. Look at a car.
Oh, looking for a lease return?
Yeah, and I was just like, because her car doesn't even have 4,000 kilometers on it. Just bought her car.
Okay.
So, she hadn't planned to look at nothing.
Right.
Like, the fucking guy walked out, "Hey, Corey, how's it going? Here's your expedition." So now we have an expedition.
Just like that.
I didn't know anything about any of this.
Like an ambushed.
So we now own an expedition.
Well, congratulations.
So now we have
They're nice.
You know what? I am a big Driving Force fan. Like, you're into a vehicle with basically 40,000 kilometers for well under 60 grand.
Fully loaded or what's?
No, they're not. They're SSVs, which is what she wanted. That's why she had to go to Edmonton to get it.
Okay.
So it means a special service. So it's like the cop car expeditions.
Really?
Or the fire truck expeditions.
Sure, yeah.
It's just like the base model plastic floors, which you wanted. The back 2 seats are leather for easy cleanup for the kids.
Yeah.
The back one folds down. There's no console. She's not big. She doesn't like consoles.
Okay, yeah.
So and this was the only one left in Driving Force's inventory, I guess. So it actually is only going to impact me because now I'm going to. I guess they had this figured out. So now I'm gonna lose my car. That's going to go back.
The Lincoln?
Yeah, it's already gone. So
where did you drive here tonight?
I drove her Explorer.
Oh, wow.
So my car's what's going to happen is my mom's car is going to go back. She's going to take my car, I guess.
Okay.
And I'm going to end up with this Explorer now. And then she's going to. So everybody wins but me. So that's that. But
so you still got carpet?
No, I don't even know what's in the Explorer. I've hardly been in it. It's only got 3,000 kilometers on it. And see what happened at 3,100 kilometers, the engine blew in this thing.
Right.
So they gave her an Expedition to drive. And it was an SSV Expedition. She'd never even seen one of those. I've never even seen one of those. Right? They're only for...
They're nice to clean up.
They're only for... Well, you guys probably have one at the fire hall.
We have one at the fire hall.
They're only for that.
It's not an Expedition. It's Tahoe, but it's the same.
Right? It's just those special models or whatever that are just for that. So
ours is an ex-police unit and a fucking 8-liter engine in it. Like that thing...
That's what I was looking. Yeah, these things are... This has like an extreme tow package or whatever.
Yeah, like you almost need 2 seatbelts to drive that thing because like you put your foot on the floor and you will find yourself like vacuumed into the seat.
It's wild. Anyways, I'm excited about it. She when her engine blew in her Explorer and they gave her this Expedition to drive, she was just like, holy man! Now with 3 kids and all the hockey bags and everything,
sure,
like it was certainly way too much for the Lincoln.
That's a lot.
It was getting quite a bit too much for the Explorer, and now she's going to. Now that the kids are a little bit older, she's going to go to more trade shows and stuff like that with our feed and stuff like that. So she's going to be carting shit around all the time. So, anyways, it's going to be a better vehicle. And I mean, fair enough. I did tell her several years ago I don't want to even hear about vehicles. I don't care.
Just do it. Well, there you go.
We're not doing the 6-figure things. We're not going to go down that road. We're perfectly fine to. And I bought my truck at Driving Force, and it's a base model. Plastic floors.
Yeah.
Just pressure wash it out.
Perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
That thing's a 2017, and I think it just rolled over 100,000 clicks. So.
Yeah, if you get goldfish crackers on the floor, who cares?
We don't. We don't need the the fancies. So,
That's
anyways,
awesome.
that's that. The Master Feeds thing was good. The World Without Cows thing, they asked for feedback, which I was happy to give.
So was it propaganda?
It was fucking terrible. The whole thing was absolutely terrible. There was no propaganda in it at all. There was some decent information in it. However, they didn't spend 1 minute in Canada. They spent their time in the United States, in Brazil, in India, and then in Africa, and then in Europe. So, interesting enough, there's 300 million cows in India.
So do you think they spent time in those countries because of the political pressure to eliminate beef from the menu?
That was basically the whole reason behind this, is that huge shift now to get rid of cattle, right? Their responsibility towards climate change and all of these things. This was basically, it didn't take the side of cows. It more or less just talked about certainly the economy in Africa, the sacredness of cattle in India, and then their use there, cattle trade in Brazil, all that stuff. And it got big into carbon sequestration and all these things, and how cattle are actually, potentially good for the environment. Where are you guys from?
Marcus wants to know where we're from. So we're in northern Alberta in Canada, actually. So if you're familiar with Alberta, west of Grand Prairie, almost at the BC border, actually. Adam says he's got both a 1066 and a 1086. They're both good tractors, 4x4s too. Oh, mint. That's awesome. You got the 3-point hitch on them too, or just the drawbar? I'd be interested to know.
You got to. We've just been flagged for smoking and drinking.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna get kicked off of TikTok. That's for sure.
That's fine. We're still here.
Good evening. Who's this?
We always struggle.
Oh, Kristen. Long time
Kristen.
no see. But I a couple things that I would like to say. 300 million cows in India. I didn't know that. 300
That's a lot.
million.
That's a lot.
And then another, I think they said 200 million in Brazil.
And they don't eat them, right?
They don't eat them. It is actually against the law of slaughter a cow in India, which was the sad thing. Once they're past milk stage, they just turn them loose.
Just wild cows.
So then they're just eating garbage and they get compaction and just die all over the place.
Sure. Yeah.
But and then I think they, if I remember right, they said something like 95 million between Canada and the United States cattle. There's one cow for every 5 people on the planet.
I never would have guessed that.
So this information that I got, I was kind of interested. Corey was like, "This is."
I never would have guessed that. No.
But yeah, so there's one cow for every 5 people. There's 500,000 between Brazil and India alone. There's the interesting thing with 200 million cattle in Brazil and 90 million in the United States. The United States still produces, I think, 5 million more pounds of beef.
Is that right? Eh?
With just efficiency.
Interesting.
So
they do have 3 points. Typical Midwest tractors. A 1086 came off a potato farm. That's one thing I'm sad about mine is I was looking for the unicorn. I was looking for front wheel assist, front end loader, and dual PTO and a 3-point hitch. And I could not find one with a 3-point hitch. So that's the one thing I do not have on mine. So I kept the old Yellow Massey around just for snow plowing. I can run the old grader blade off the back of it with the 3-point hitch, but
I destroyed the cigar.
It's low on power, so
absolutely destroyed it. It's good thing there was a whole box.
You gonna be able to save it?
Nope.
No, you can't just recut it and.
I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna own it first.
Just deal with it. You made your bed.
I was gonna use that guillotine cutter too, but I didn't.
Huh.
And now look at it. It's just a nightmare.
That's unfortunate. Oh, that is bad.
It's just an absolute
It
nightmare.
looks like you just chewed on it.
And then I dipped it and I thought it got a whole bunch better and then it didn't.
Huh.
So now I'm here. Need a Band-Aid, I guess, wrap around there. Scotch tape.
I got some masking tape up here somewhere from painting. So
that's a first.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to this. What threw me? So after we watched this thing, they're like, "Well, what do you guys think about it?" And I was like, "Well, you didn't spend any time in Canada, so that's your first bugaboo with me." Wouldn't have killed you to spend a minute or two there on a ranch, right? You've
Yeah.
been in business in Canada for 97 years.
Sell a lot of molasses, sell a
So-
lot of supplement.
But yeah, he actually, the one dude from the States did acknowledge that, yeah, that might have been an oversight. And then they said, well, can you guys help us get this out to folks? And I said, well, who?
How?
Like, so then, of course,
Are they going to YouTube it or what?
Well, they opened it up to the folks that were there. And of course, everybody right now, well, we got to get this into schools. Well, there isn't anybody who gives a shit that's 7 years old.
No.
So that's the wrong. Maybe get it out to high schoolers, maybe.
I don't even think that's the crowd for it, really.
So they said, well, we're kind of driven to get this into, maybe hands of politicians and stuff like that. And I was like, well, why the fuck are you asking us? Like, do I look like I work for fucking Netflix?
Right.
Like, I'm not a TV producer. I don't know how to do this.
No, you're
I
right.
said, why don't you just send me the link? I'll upload it to our Local Food Connection page. I'll upload it to YouTube. I'll
Send it
upload
to your YouTube channel, whatever.
wherever. Folks, if they like it, but they weren't interested in that. And I thought, what the fuck is the underlying?
Yeah. Do you want this out there or not?
You know, I mean, are you looking for licensing fees for this fucking garbage? Because it's not worth anything. I mean, the several $1 million you spent developing it,
There you go.
in my mind, aren't
What's a
worth it.
TikTok universe? Somebody just sent a TikTok universe. I don't even know what that is.
That would be definitely not to us, but
It went to somebody else. Yeah. I don't like. What is that?
I don't know.
It's like points?
Yeah, it is. It's so you can send all sorts of things. They're if you go swipe the other way, you can send stuff. It's dollar figures or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Like it would translate to. Someone sent me a string of lights once, and it ended up being about $7.
I see.
But I would certainly encourage anybody that's watching this to not do that, because we're in Canada, and I don't even know how to get the money off of there if you do send it. I got like $8 on there.
On the creator, yeah. I don't know.
I don't know how to even. I mean, of course, I
How
guess
to-
if it
how to
got into
access it.
anything of significance, a guy would figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
if you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars, but
YouTube's good though. Like they just direct deposit it.
I know that's
Like,
fantastic.
that's awesome. So
But yeah, it was a good trip. Learned a whole bunch of stuff. I got a bunch of sheep information.
oh really?
Yeah.
What do you know about sheep these days?
Well, they're I didn't realize this, but most master feeds lines of feed are from birth to death. So there's your all your nutritional requirements are met as you switch to these bags,
Is that right?
and then right up to I didn't even know they had milk replacer. So
I didn't know that either. Yeah.
it's quite interesting. Actually, the milk replacer guy was there giving us his story.
Huh.
And I was like, well, that's interesting. Because
You want to buy a pallet of it, and I'll just
So-
take one bag off you every year.
Well, see, that was the thing, and we asked them because we actually, what the heck was I told? North of, so there's the Edmonton area. If we just assume that as the Edmonton, basically an hour outside,
Yeah.
we're like the largest master feeds dealer north of that,
Right.
which I thought was pretty good because we've only
That's
been doing
that's
this
very
for like
impressive.
a year.
Yeah.
And there's all this stuff like this is the first meeting that we went to, and of course, when I never went looking for any of this stuff as an expansion of the existing business, I went looking for things that would simplify my current business. So I was looking for products I was already using to get them better quality and cheaper,
Right.
and then logistically just simplify that for me. And then all of this stuff is just adding on to dog food. Like, holy man.
How's the market for that?
Well, now that PV Mart shut down.
Oh, I
it's-
suppose. Yeah.
It's just
I never
incredible.
thought about it like that. And well, I shouldn't say I never thought about it, but I kind of thought PV Mart shutting down was going to drive a lot of people back to big retail. Like they would go buy their dog food at Walmart or whatever, right?
I think
But that's awesome they're coming to you. That's great.
I think a lot of folks do, but I was explained that dogs and pigs basically are the most intense requirements nutritionally
yeah,
for like that top quality growth.
sure.
So you can get away with a lot of stuff with a lot of other animals, bison, beef,
Yeah.
Not so much sheep either. They got upset stuff.
Very specific things with sheep. Yeah.
But when it comes to dogs and pigs, and everyone thinks, oh, you can just feed anything to a pig, and they will chew on anything.
Sure.
But to
convert that to actual muscle mass,
proper growth and proper fill or proper conception and birthing and mothering and all that stuff, it's their nutritional requirements are pretty intense, and the feed has to be of a pretty good quality.
You can't just feed them whole pizza, eh?
Right? And not to say that those products don't exist in the market, and that you can certainly get them and you can sustain an animal through, but your animal won't prosper. So as we switched our own dogs over to this dog food because, I mean, obviously that's what you're going to do.
Sure, you will. It's right there. Right? Yeah, 100%.
So right away we noticed that they did eat less.
Yeah. That's huge, right?
And I was just like,
because they're getting all the nutrition they need from less, right?
And then as far as our black dog was always just a mess, but the white one, I thought maybe had worms or something because it would just never put on weight. And It's still really skinny, but it's like full now.
Its coat looks better, and it's.
So I mean, and I'm not. Ours are just mutts. We don't have any. But there's been a few people talking about hot spots. I still don't know what that is, but apparently those go away.
Oh, okay.
Hot spots on dogs or whatever.
Huh.
So it's quite interesting, and we were talking about that too at the meeting, because like a lot of people they shy away, and they were actually talking this in the meeting. They said, like, they always put out their suggested retail price, and we're always below that, like way below it, because for us this is an add-on to.
Sure.
All I wanted to do was roll my own grain. That's all I ever wanted to do.
The rest is just a bonus, right?
And now it's a bonus, right? So I use these, they call them loss leaders, like the hot dogs and stuff at Costco.
Yeah.
They don't make any money on this, but you're
gets
probably
you in the door.
$700 cart full of shit you didn't want get that hot dog.
To get that $1.50 hot dog, yeah.
So we do that with quite a bit of this stuff. And they were saying to like all the dealers that, come March and then April or whatever, all our suggested retail prices are going to go up. And what they find, and what a lot of people do, is they go in there and they see that something isn't as expensive, so they don't buy it
because they think its quality is less.
Yeah, they think it's cheaper.
Yeah,
right. So that's something that we actually do struggle with, and I mean I get it, and when I try to explain that to people right in the yard, I can feel it, and I can see the eyes rolling.
They just think, oh yeah, this is a fucking used car salesman, yeah.
And it's just like, no, like just go look at the words, like look up, sodium selenate and these sulfates and these oxides and all these things. Just learn those words and learn what they do for the feed and what's in a cheap feed, and you're gonna find out that this is a true story that we're telling you.
Yeah.
Like it's cheaper than anywhere else, but it's actually of better quality too.
Yeah.
Right. And why would you do that? It's simple, because I just want to sell my rolled barley. Right. The chicken feed, all the other stuff is basically irrelevant.
It seems too good to be true.
But we do get we still have a lot of excellent support. But I know they were talking about that, and I've heard folks around say that too. Like, well, no, that's we need $120 bag. I'm just like, well, I mean, you can certainly get that.
Yeah.
And I can certainly charge you that. But,
sure.
65 is more than
reasonable. Too, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Adam says milk replacers kind of hard to store, at least the stuff we had mixed. Yeah, I would imagine for yourself to carry milk replacer in the shop would be a real challenge, hey?
Yeah,
the humidity would mess with it for sure.
Yeah, they said actually it stores best when it's not in a heated building. Like you just want it out.
It's got to be cold storage. Yeah.
So, but the thing too is, a lot of these products, they want to sell you like a skid of it, right? And I mean, unless you're some wholesale outlet in an urban center,
yeah,
it's very hard to move that.
Sure,
volume,
it would be,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're trying to reach out to a few dozen producers who each need like half a bag, so they buy a bag, right? I mean, or they buy one and split it between the two.
Yeah, they buy one and half of it gets. That's what we do with milk replacer every year. I buy an $80 bag of milk replacer, and half of it goes into the wind in the spring, right? We're almost a year to the day on the cat incident, actually, when we locked the cat in here by accident. He ate all the milk replacer and shat all over the inside of the shop.
Well,
So
next year we'll get you some milk.
Really, really important to make sure it's stored in a sealed container. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll get you some next year. Next year, we're not going to do it this year. I think we're too late.
It was actually funny. So PV Mart shutting down. I was at my workplace downtown Grand Prairie. So PV Mart's like, although I hate PV Mart because they've really become something else, right? It is convenient because I drive by it every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, it's shutting down. Chances are they don't have colostrum, and I need that. Who knows what could happen? I could have a ewe die tomorrow, or not accept a lamb. I got to have some colostrum and some milk replacer. What's my next best option? Not really a big fan of Keddies either, because I mean they're more about selling fucking $120 pairs of jeans than they are about really anything else. So I'm going to go to UFA. And I looked. I couldn't find it. I asked the fellow there, and he found me a bag of milk replacer, and he's like, well, it doesn't say there's not colostrum in it. I'm like, well, that means there's not fucking colostrum in it. Just because it doesn't say it's in there means it's not in there. Like, so UFA too has kind of ventured away from like base crowd, right? I'm a bit concerned about that.
I thought for quite a while that they were basically on their way out, certainly as a farm store, and then they did that whole entire remodel inside or whatever. Yeah. I went in there, I was looking for some fittings, and I was like, oh, maybe they did step it up. And then what time is it? See, Jeremy, it's about 8 now, so we're about half an hour too early, but the folks are piling in. Welcome everybody. Make sure you jump into the live, please. Shoot some. Let us know where you're from.
Leave us a comment. Where are you from?
Throw a comment in here.
What snacks? If you're laying in bed with a snack, what do you got?
What do you have? We do give away Smoking Oak whiskey glasses and Smoking Oak something else. Coffee mugs.
I should shut this down because it's done. Like we're on the naughty list here.
Did we lose? We got 0?
I've been 0 for like 30 minutes.
Oh, I thought that was
I think the restriction they just said no, you're done. So
I've had enough.
I'm just gonna.
I thought it was.
I don't know how to do it.
There's no connection either, or what?
No, there's good.
Isn't that right?
No, it says restriction.
Oh, maybe you're supposed to do something about that.
I don't know.
Anyways, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Anyways, we're it's exciting.
Where were we?
I don't know. We're talking about UFA.
UFA
being shitty.
PV Mart was shitty. It's sad that it's gone because there was some good stuff still there. Terrible inventory control.
Sure.
Staff that weren't aware of what the inventory they did have was even for. And a price point that was not competitive. Mm-hmm. I find that stuff is really expensive there, right?
Yeah.
So
it was they were definitely losing out there for sure.
So it'd be interesting to see what comes of that, because I think, folks like yourself, phones like Halabowicz is out in Good Fare, there's good economic advantages. Like you'll benefit from that.
Oh, for sure.
But I also think there's going to be a few corporate giants that are going to backfill that void, like UFA, that are probably going to go just that one step further away from their core business to appease whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. They'd be selling fucking scented candles at the UFA now. and lavender fucking soaps.
Right? Yeah, that's just it. I know that's like over the years we've been kind of approached in a way or sort of, suggested that maybe we do other things, and I was like, you know what? I don't really want to. And for me, never have been an animal or livestock producer. I found it so fascinating the first few years that I started making feed, like how intense people could get, and then how different as well. Like, I mean, I had an hour-long discussion with a lady. I guess I didn't have the discussion. She talked at me.
You just sat there and listened?
Well, I was helping her load some things up, and she was like, "You can't feed rolled grain to a sheep." And that was the basis of it. And it was about I'd say a solid 45 minutes to an hour of talking directly at me of all of the reasons that you cannot do this.
Sure.
And after she was done, I was laughing to myself, and maybe I guess out loud, because she's like, "Well, is that not right?" And I said, "Of the 75 people probably at the time that were coming
Yeah.
for sheep feed. I said, you were the only one who doesn't get it processed in some form. And she was just, you could just see, like,
Yeah.
really? And I said, yeah, like, I mean, it's not to say that they can't have whole grains or that they can't have rolled. I'm not sure day one with sheep, you should have such a concrete stand.
You should. And
Like-
I mean, there's lots of studies out there specifically on that. If you look at New Zealand, Australia, they've done like literally dozens of studies into the rumen health of sheep and rolled grains versus whole grains. And almost universally, they've said that rolled grains or processed grains, right, whether they've been milled or rolled or whatever, are better for the animal, but they are most definitely hotter. Like you got to watch the potential for bloat. That doesn't mean you can't feed it, but you just got to make sure your ration is appropriate, right? So, Jeremy, PV Mart sounds like the farm stores around me. It's frustrating. So what do you got there, Adam? Is it Tractor Supply,
Ace Hardware.
which was really their parent company for PV Mart.
I guess it was, yeah.
It was.
Tractor Supply.
Tractor Supply.
Ace Hardware is a good one.
Well, Ace was owned by PV Mart too. That's why, like, our local
I guess so.
Calvert's department store was Ace, and they shut it down. That was the first sign that PV Mart was done. They were gonna close Ace, and then
That's a good point. Yeah.
PV Mart was right behind them. So I'd be interested to see if they've just shrunk back into the United States, or if that's maybe a precursor to the Tractor Supply shutting down too. Because I think, like, over in Eastern Canada, they've got Tractor Supply, right?
I think
like
so,
in
yeah.
Ontario and stuff like that, right?
I think there actually is a few. Well, that was the rumor that maybe this would just reopen as a Tractor Supply. But
Well, I mean, it remains to be seen. It might be a fucking Halloween Alley by next year, or Spirit Halloween, or whatever.
Well, it most likely will spend a season or two as a Halloween Alley. They seem to always do that. But everything that goes broken in that city becomes Halloween Alley at some point. But
Yeah,
we really pooched the cutting of those, eh?
yeah.
And
I might as well just have Copenhagen. I'm just getting lots in my teeth.
well, I pulled the band down and let the band do its thing. But remember I said we were going to get at least a 2-hour smoke out of this, and I'm not sure we're halfway done.
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm definitely halfway.
I've been talking too much, I guess.
You've been talking too much. I've been just like hammering this thing, but now that I am where I am, still just as smooth. Still a damn good cigar, actually.
It is quite nice.
I really enjoy this. Actually, really good.
It's got such a nice,
and I think
even burn. I don't know if you can't see that, but it's just like right in the center.
Just
it
perfect.
Must have been just, I don't know. It must have been just perfectly kept. So maybe they are. It's a really nice cigar.
Yeah, humidity's right where it needs to be. I was a little bit concerned when you first said that, like, these things just got off the plane, essentially, that maybe they haven't, who knows what the humidity is going to be in these things. It might burn uneven, but it's actually excellent. But yeah, unpopular opinion, hot take, unpopular opinion. That whiskey I think it's a contender against the Dalmore.
It really is. It really is. With the water too. Like, did you put water in it?
I never have.
It just went like, it was so good, and then it was just like, boom, here we go.
For science, I will do it.
It just hit a whole nother level.
Just for.
It was
no more than that. Just a drop.
Just a splash. No, it was really good. And not quite as dark of an amber. It's a little more pale, but still.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. That's very fruity, hey? Very fruity.
It is a mighty fine whiskey. So, it did have a bunch of stuff on the box.
It probably tells you the whole story there. There's probably
nose, sweet, fruity, followed by subtle spice.
I'd agree with that.
Palate, mouth-coating whiskey, full of ripe poached pears, mandarins, and syrup. Chocolate-coated raisins.
Did not get that.
Finish, sweet and delicious. A Glenlivet savor.
I would have got cherry and apple pie.
They got a little graph here, 5 to 1, 0, and then 1 to 5 on the other side of fruit, floral, vanilla, toffee, spice, raisin, and this is all the way up on the caramel toffee.
Interesting.
But yeah, we rarely ever hit these notes with.
Yeah, I mean that's just everybody's got their own palate, right?
Well, I've never. I mean, we're not really slouches at this. I mean, we're like 25 bottles deep, and I've just never even come close to being able to write this down. Someone said, take a shot and write it down. I would never get any of this.
No.
Like ever. I
You
don't
don't
know. I
think
don't
so?
know what these tasters.
I mean, there's definitely there's some where it's like, oh yeah, that's Christmas cake all day long.
Well,
right?
but so right off the bat, we were just like apple.
Yeah.
It's not on here.
Are you going to hit the notes that they hit?
Never.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I wonder who's doing this. Like, I don't even see that on here. I mean, just fruity, right? It's fruity, subtle spice. But, mandarins and syrup didn't get that. Poached pears didn't get that.
Have
Sweet
you ever
and delicious? I got that.
But in fairness, have you ever eaten poached pears?
Well, what's a poached pear?
Right?
Is it like just a canned pear?
I don't know.
I'm assuming that's what it is.
Maybe it's not though. Maybe that's like some delicacy that we have yet to experience.
That's what I was running with. That it was just a canned.
Just a fucking
I doubt it's
Del Monte
like,
fucking canned pear.
Like a poached egg is just boiled in water.
Sure,
so
it
pear
is.
is not just boiled and
Maybe.
canned.
Well, why wouldn't they just call it canned pear? I guess because it would sound like fucking.
It would, that's what we would write down.
Trailer Park Fantastic. Right?
Never, hardly ever went to a PV Mart.
Oh, they got Fleet Farm.
Fuck, that's funny.
Same issues you describe at PV Mart. Yeah.
Fleet Farm. There was that one Midwestern guy that always does the Facebook shorts talking about Fleet Farm. It's so funny. It's some good content on the internet. Anyways, yeah, I would never. Same with cigars. I can pretty much get like smells like shit until you light it, then it's good. And I'm not sure that we would ever. Well, myself certainly, I do not have a career in assessing cigars and whiskey.
No, I don't think we could. But I will say, yeah, for sure, we've had the staple. Smells like a mouse nest and behind a grain truck. Like that basically is the baseline standard for what's a good cigar, what's not a good cigar. But once we've lit them, you have to agree that we have had some that tasted with hints of coffee, chocolate, leather, wood. But those subtle nuances where they get into, like you say, like fucking roasted vanilla or whatever, artichoke fucking hearts, like that.
Right.
Where do you come up with that shit?
The other thing too, and I guess we don't think too much of this, is you are really not like cigar and scotch is not a pairing.
They actually aren't a good pairing.
Right.
No,
I mean,
like you don't go smoke, right?
We did it for just like appeal of the atmosphere, right? It's nice. It feels nice up here. But realistically, no, you're supposed to, these are supposed to be enjoyed on their own. I mean, you don't like scotch isn't, you don't drink that with dinner either, right? I mean.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that enjoy a cigar with coffee,
right?
Or they have it with like a piece of chocolate,
sure,
something like that.
And we've done that in the past. We've made sure, like especially if we had something that somebody had given us a review on or whatever, or told us to try. We've be it a cigar or a whiskey, we've tried to make sure we do that first, and give that some time. With I guess a fresher palate, right? But this one, I mean, it was into the cigar, into the whiskey, so maybe it's hard to match them up to get those true subtle tastes. Maybe when you're just choked down smoke But
we've also we've got two very dominant flavors, right? Like that. But there's lots of guys that enjoy bourbon with a cigar, but it's kind of sweeter. Like it's a different flavor profile. I'm not a bourbon fan. Do we even have any bourbon here?
No.
I thought we did have like a Woodford Reserve or something. Maybe that was just rum. I think we just got rum. The Floricana. That's what it is. It looks like it's a very similar bottle.
We never even opened that. That come, I think,
we never did.
The first or the second line.
Yeah,
it was gonna be the next shot. But.
Sure. Yeah, and then we just said to hell with it. We're just going Scotch. That'd be a good summer one, though. Hey,
we'll do that. Yeah.
We should just have a of rum.
Well, we always had the idea to do that too, to actually have a get up early and do an early live and have a coffee and a cigar. And
Come over tomorrow morning. The wife's gone to work.
we got on Sunday. I think we got.
I don't think the kids would like that too much. You could put cartoons on for them. We could have a cigar. You're probably just about wrapped up with hockey for the year, or what?
They played their last game today,
Did
but
they?
then they got the boy had his hockey wind up.
Fairview. Yeah.
The boy had his hockey wind up this afternoon. Emmy's got hers tomorrow. Buddy's going skiing tomorrow.
Spring
I'm
Lake.
babysitting the infant. Yeah. So this will be the last busy weekend of kids stuff, and then I think 1 week of school and then spring break,
Something like
right
that,
up
yeah.
here. And then of course we got. I've been really hoping to get in and do some grain cleaning, but it's been busy. And then we get these. It's supposed to snow 10 to 15 on Thursday.
I see that. I'm really hoping that changes and it
yeah.
just turns into. I mean, whatever. I take the moisture. I take the rain, but I really would not appreciate 4 to 6 inches of snow.
It just makes everything so muddy.
It's just worse. Yeah,
It's just-
the rain would be better than the.
It would be, because the rain would beat the snow out of the bush, it'd
Yeah.
beat the snow banks down.
Yeah.
The snow is it's unwanted at this point, as far as I'm concerned. It's unwanted.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyways, for a topic of Canada-U.S. relations,
We
it's
really
been an
never.
hour
We
and
never
15
really even
minutes of-
talked about the Canada or the U.S. Eh?
Not yet.
What do you think's going to happen with this? So that I have my own opinion on the whole tariff thing, where that's going to go. But what do you think?
In regards to what, just the whole thing?
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody thinks Trump is the devil. There's a significant portion of the Canadian population that maybe think, Carney's the worst thing for Canada. Do you think we're going to be in a long-term trade war here?
I don't. I think that I don't think that Trump considered the effects globally, because certainly everything that I'm reading, it's not just Canada hitting back; everybody's hitting back.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was on his radar. I do believe that the man had some successes in real estate and just that inflated his ego to think he was this master deal maker, titan of industry, and could
Right.
take on everything. Right? I mean, I know actually quite a bit about feed. I've learned a lot in the last 10 years.
Sure.
I wouldn't just start buying a fucking fleet of boats and start a fucking shipping company. Just, because you're
Just
good at
'cause.
one thing, it doesn't mean
Right.
you're good at another.
Yeah.
Because you can jet around and borrow a lot of money from fucking some banks. I don't think that puts you in the shoes to be a negotiator on the global economy. I mean, maybe a little higher up the pedestal than most, but not there yet. I do not believe that he thought this all through.
See, I think to a certain degree, I think there's a bigger picture that's at play here. Whether he's the mastermind behind it or not, that remains to be seen. But so we had NAFTA for years. I think that was Bill Clinton that negotiated that. And then Trump, during his first term, tore that up and came up with CUSMA, which is the Canadian, U.S., Mexico trade agreement.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good trade agreement. But economically, North America wasn't where North America as a whole wasn't where it could be on the global trade market. And the U.S. being the powerhouse within that trade agreement and suffering economically, I think he wants to come in and reestablish the terms. But so I don't think this is about the tariffs. I don't think this is about American manufacturing. I don't think this is about so I can make it America great again. I think this is about the new trade deal. I think this is about a global trade deal where America gets to negotiate it. So it remains to be seen. We'll see what unfolds here. But I think that's the big picture. I think that's what's going to happen. Is he's going to look for trade with North America, he's going to look for trade with Asia, and he's going to look for trade with Europe.
it's very possible. It doesn't seem like anybody's interested at this
I don't
point.
think they are. I think that's
Right.
why he's just putting the fucking whole thing, because there's so much of the world that uses the US dollar to trade in. He's going to put the fucking economy in the toilet and force everybody's hand to essentially do it. I hope Canada joins the European Union. Well, I mean, that's actually physically impossible. We can't do that, but it was namely because we're not part of Europe. But
I think that taking a good lean towards BRICS would be handy. I don't think it's tough to say because it's been such a dominant force for so long. But I expect that the U.S. dollar as the global currency is going to fiddle and fizzle away. I don't even understand at this point why it still needs to be. I mean,
why the U.S. dollar needs to be?
Well, why it needs to be the global currency. I don't understand that with exchange and all this thing, all these things. Why can I not just sell my canola in Canadian dollars and have Japan buy it in Japanese, whatever, yen or won or whatever?
Because that's actually the true measure of your economy is how many nations trade in your currency. And that's the measure of strength of your dollar.
But it benefits no one but the United States using that United States dollar. And in fact, it's actually a detriment to a lot of countries. They're literally like a credit card where they're not producing and they're not consuming the product. Their fingers are just in there, and there's some sticking to it as it passes through. And I don't understand in 2025 with the technology that we have. I mean, if your exchange rate is whatever to whatever, just you should be able to circumvent the U.S. dollar altogether. It doesn't need to be. Canadian products don't need to be traded in U.S. dollars when the end user is not the United States.
No, they don't. That just helps translate. There's three big currencies in the world, right? The U.S. dollar, the pound sterling, and the yen. So that really gives you. It kind of unlocks those other markets. Essentially, really is what it does, right? So I don't know. Remains to be seen what's going to happen.
I follow that. I just don't see why. Like, I don't see why you can't trade in whatever. I don't get that.
I think it's about investor comfort, right? They know that the U.S. dollar is fairly solid, no different than the pound sterling, right? Like it's old, it's backed, it's like there's something there, something tangible there, right? Whereas other currencies that are maybe weaker, they don't have the same kind of status. It's a little bit more vulnerable, right? The whole thing with the EU too, like, I mean, having grown up in the UK, being part of the EU for a number of years and seeing like how politically that went, like not just the currency piece, but politically that went, and having a lot of the decision-making ability removed. Like there was a lot of governance that was taken away from the British people. Like decisions came down from Brussels. I certainly don't think that's going to, people in Alberta don't want to take orders from Ottawa. They certainly wouldn't want to take orders from anybody in Europe.
No.
Like that it just wouldn't fly, right? So Jeremy says, and Dad is deathly scared that BRICS will be the new currency and our dollar will tank. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be the new currency and what's going to happen with the dollar. I mean, if you do look at Europe and you look at the euro, that is kind of what happened there initially, is that it came in, everybody thought it was going to be hot shit. It went in the toilet for a while. Now, like, it is fairly consistent. Like it's fairly steady.
But like BRICS isn't a currency. BRICS is an idea of trading in your own currency.
It's an idea,
right? So Russia's buying Chinese and Brazilian products, and Russia is paying in Russian marks. Or there. Well, I don't know what all these dollars are. I'm not a forex guy.
Right.
Like
rubles.
I
think that's what they have in Russia.
Rubles and rupees and crowns. And
rupees is India and Denmark is kroners.
And I think marks is German.
They don't have the Deutschmark anymore. I think they just use euro there.
Sure.
They had the Dutch guilder. That's the euro
backed
now.
by the gold in reserve. But I don't think any currency is gold backed anymore. I don't think any of it is backed by gold.
Russia is now.
Russia is now.
Or they at least announced that Russia was going to be backed by gold. Nobody really can see beyond the Iron Curtain to really know whether or not there's actually gold there. Or if that's just based upon whatever's in reserve below the ground. I'm not sure. But
Right.
Yeah.
It's all interesting. One thing I'm not sure though is why, and I mean, I guess just with what we've seen out of our own political leaders, so let's say over the last decade or since social media has really put all this stuff out there, certainly highlighted the stupidity of the House of Commons and things like that. Over the last day, we shouldn't expect any more, but I would have expected a lot better. Like, you think these problems are there's inequities all the time, always, and there always will be, and you expect that these people making their $250,000 a year with their $200,000 travel expenditures and everything are handling these problems. They told us when they ran that they could handle these problems for us. So to end up in these situations for whatever reason, you think, like, who's asleep at the wheel here? Like, why all of a sudden just now fucking is the huge problem? And then it has to always boil down to the most removed of us in the population that seem to really suffer because of someone's finally had enough.
Yeah.
Like, was there no way to fucking foresee this? Like you said, I'm pretty sure that Kuzma or USMCA or whatever they want to call it, I'm pretty sure that was negotiated by the two fucking people that were first into the trade war.
Yeah, it pretty much was. Yeah.
So how did we? Right. I mean, I think that Mexico was the only one that had a new leader since.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how did we have the two that negotiated it, and then for the first two in the fight? Like, it just seems to be just total.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, not dissimilar to whoever takes the next seat for Canadian Prime Minister, they're going to inherit basically an economic dumpster fire, and I think that's what happened in the United States. Was he opens it up? Yeah, okay, he negotiated that trade deal back in, what was it, 2020 or something like that, whenever it was, right? But he inherits a dumpster fire with the same trade deal, so it's not going to work anymore,
right?
Like,
but
I can't clear the deficit. I can't better the position of the American people under the terms of that current trade deal.
I always have a hard time with and we were talking about this over drinks down in Red Deer as well. This whole, so on such a local or a small level, this whole crying about this economic, people being decimated with taxes and stuff economically, could just be naive. I don't see it. I really don't. Like, I don't. It didn't go like 1,000% from what it was. I said at the table, I said, if you went broke, it's probably more to do with your $250,000 weight boat in the fucking driveway, not the fucking $18 fucking carbon tax. I don't like the carbon tax either. I think it's totally fucking stupid. However, that wasn't the reason why you fucking struggled.
Yeah, no.
It shouldn't have been.
That for sure is rhetoric that comes out of an echo chamber, right? So some political opponent somewhere has said a thing, and then it just goes out into the public, and the people that can't think for themselves, just generally, that just becomes the narrative now, essentially, right?
Well, but for me, it just gets so fucking old because I don't know enough about it, and the stuff that I hear, I want to be the truth. I don't want to wade through the bullshit all of the time. And what you get is just nonstop fucking a wave of shit over top of you. And you're trying to sort through this and pick out any ounce of truth. A lot of times there's none at all.
Sure.
You know, it's just, and I can totally appreciate people being mad or frustrated. I do. I mean, I obviously there's people that fell on hard times and things got really bad for them. But that's just been throughout history. Sometimes the cards don't come up for you.
Sometimes they don't, but also our viewpoint, what's on our horizon, is a little bit skewed too. I mean, we just by default we look to the States and we see cheap gas and we see low tax rates. Do we look to Europe and we see high tax rates and we see gas is fucking twice the price? You know, who's struggling there? Is it them or is it us? I think they're probably financially they're more burdened than we are, and yet they still do okay. Business is just done differently in those countries.
Well, I got the opportunity to pay state tax and federal U.S. tax and provincial tax and Canadian federal tax all in the same fucking year, and I don't see such a massive difference. Like I really don't. Like I don't see as one being, you know, this total fucking weight that can't be lifted, and the other being this, you know, field of fucking daisies that we just prance through and life is good. Like they were slightly different. I don't the little bit of traveling that we've done in the United States, of course, right? It's a massive fucking country with a large population.
Sure.
But the infrastructure seemed fine to me. Every fucking where we drove, they were building a new overpass. They had 6 fucking lanes of highway. I mean, up here, we fucking barely have pavement out past our place.
That's the trouble, right? Like it's not apples to apples. You think about your value of your dollar, your value of your tax dollar in the States versus the value of your tax dollar here, because we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the development, and we don't have the tax base.
Right? Yeah, we don't have the population that even justifies that development.
Literally, like what we currently have for a tax roll is where the U.S. was fucking 150 years ago.
Right?
You know,
we were looking that up when what the hell? I think we were looking up the largest 5 cities on the planet, and they I think the first 3 have just about the same population as Canada,
right?
And then the next 2 are around that 27 million people or whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, these are huge disparities that have to be taken in. They have to be taken in. You have to realize that, you know, why certain things are the way that they are. You know, even around his $200 billion subsidy, like that's just something that is just not. It's not a good thing to say because it doesn't sound good and it's not true.
It's not true,
right?
For starters, it's not true.
But the way that it sounds like we're just this fucking Oliver Twist, for fuck's sakes,
right?
And that's not the case. None of this is it's not true at all.
Yeah.
And like you say, you're these echo chambers, and you're thinking like, fuck, it's already been out there from all sides that this is not true. That's a misstatement. It's not the right way to put it.
Yeah.
Whatever number you're coming up with, that's not the way to say that, because that statement is not true. Right? You can certainly understand why a population of 400 million would buy more than a population of 40.
Yeah.
And if you can't understand that, you need to get out of the fucking fight altogether.
I don't think he doesn't understand that. I think he understands that just fine. But I think the man knows that the people that voted for him don't understand that.
Well, then that's 100%. Yeah, I'm sure he's very well aware of it. And most likely being coached by advisors that these statements are polling very well. You know, these are gaining traction. Yeah. These trigger words and things like that.
I mean,
but
you don't have to say the truth. You just have to say it loud enough for it to become the truth, right?
And often enough, you repeat that, and pretty soon, because I'm shocked at how many times I see that through comments, like, you know. Time to look after ourselves. The free ride for the world is over, and I'm thinking, like, and this on a very small part, but I mean, this is all being said why there's Canadian water bombers fucking putting out fires all over the United States. Like, with the free ride, I don't know. Now, if there's inequities, if there are some injustices or some unfair balances, we can certainly work to those. But to think that you're just some all-giving superpower that's a little fucking, it's probably a lot extreme to say.
Yeah, I mean, they're the United States empire, really. So the American empire is kind of it's where a lot of empires have been in their final days. Like, it's just kind of crumbling beneath their feet.
Right.
They have this nostalgic view of what things were at one point in time, but they were actually pretty fucking terrible for most people.
Sure.
Let's be honest, right? Who's going to be the next one? Who's going to be the next world superpower? It's probably, I mean, you and I could probably agree on this. It's probably going to be China.
Yeah, well,
like they're already there.
I think we know it won't be Canada.
It won't be Canada, right?
So
China's going to be the next world superpower. What I think is really interesting is the desperation, the grasp to power that's currently occurring, to the point of suggesting eliminating a sovereign nation.
Sure.
Right? We're going to take over Canada. It's going to become a 51st state. We're going to take over Greenland, and we're going to call it Red, White, and Blue Land. Like,
and then annex the Panama Canal. Yes.
And then so it ordered the United States military to prepare to seize the Panama Canal. Well, I mean, what do you think is going to happen from China if you seize the Panama Canal? Right.
Yeah,
like that is just a ludicrous view. And so that's the end game that I can't see. Like, I can see for sure, like, you want a global trade deal. So you upset the apple cart, you throw everything out of it, and you start again. But what I can't see is trying to use military force to expand. What's the advantage there? Aside from bringing war to your doorstep, like actual physical war to your doorstep.
Yeah, to me, it just seems like a dog pissing all over a thing. Like, that's mine, that's mine, that's mine. Because I don't get the
final third. It keeps going out here.
I know. Well, we got the cut to butcher all the shit, so trying to hold that together. I think I've restricted now. Any of the
you're choked up, your bottleneck,
flow or anything. So the draw is starting to tighten as probably the tobacco swelled.
Yeah, that saliva. Could be. Yeah,
but it is very interesting. I really wished it would go. It would go away sooner than later. Like, instead of the more like aggressive talks from all sides, and even further, like even more abroad. It's just like, you see other small nations and stuff, and they're like, no, fuck this, we're taking that shit off too. We're not dealing with you. I think Lynn Chocolate shut the fucking factory down and pulled out. Apparently, John Deere said, "Fuck you. We're still going to be selling in Europe. That's a huge market.
Sure, absolutely.
We got to build factories there too, right?
Yeah.
So I think I think the man probably stepped into too big of shoes. I mean, should have stuck to golf and hotels. I don't.
Right.
I mean,
not paying his taxes.
I don't think that he was quite the savior that obviously a lot of folks thought he was going to be. It is ironic. I mean, I was talking to some folks that had just got back from the States, and myself included. When I was down there, when did we go? Second week of February, I think. Anyways, so it was just before this all started. But the 51st state had been mentioned, I guess, at that point. And I talked to most people that I talked to were not excited about what's happening in their country.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it seemed, and I mean, we went to Florida. So,
right.
I mean, that's pretty much a stronghold.
Sure. Yeah. If you're going to vote that way, that'd be the place to do it.
It seemed that a lot of folks, because and obviously folks can tell by this, we had a lot of discussion that a lot of folks would think we should leave, off limits. I mean, doesn't bother us. Fucking give it, right?
Like secede from, like the actual, like secede, like Western Canada secede from Canada. You mean?
Well, no, I just mean the conversation of politics or religion or anything like that. Like a lot of people think like you shouldn't be talking about that stuff. You're just gonna get enraged.
Oh,
So when I was
okay.
down in the States, I mean, I'd have these fucking conversations with
see.
people standing in line. It doesn't
Sure.
bother me.
Yeah. What do you think
I mean,
about this? Yeah.
Yeah, I can handle talking to someone
Right.
with a 100% different view than I have.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting mad.
And not getting there's an absolute rage.
You know, especially if they're willing to talk.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the ones that start to you know get your skin crawling are those who, like I say, are professional provocateurs. They're literally just responding to you to try to piss you off.
That's right.
There's nothing intelligent coming out, and you know that. You can sense that right away.
Sure.
But all the folks that I talked to, didn't matter where we were at, be it amusement parks or restaurants or hotel lobbies or whatever. Almost nobody was excited about what was happening. And I thought that was quite interesting. I mean,
That is interesting.
especially
yeah.
for such a stronghold. I mean, you come to Alberta and you are going to find an overwhelming population that is not excited about what's happening in Canada and hasn't been for 10 years.
Absolutely not. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But you go to a very liberal riding in Ottawa, and you most likely won't find anybody who has a problem with it.
That's right.
So to me, to go to Florida to see such a stronghold and have so many folks be like, no, this is not right. This is not going to go well for us. I thought that was quite interesting.
So you and I talked about this before we turned the camera on, but like where the population sits right now on our current political atmosphere in Canada, with having an unelected prime minister, essentially, and where we think that election's going to go. I don't know. I've had a lot of people ask me like what my opinion is on Mark Carney, and I'm kind of reserving judgment because he hasn't done anything. He hasn't really made any promises. But what I thought was really, really interesting is like within the first week, he essentially eliminated Pierre Poilievre's platform entirely.
He did, right?
Right.
He pulled the steps right out from him.
Yeah. Good or bad, whatever. I mean, that's just what happened. And I think it could highly skew the next election. Now, I've been on the center right kind of part of the spectrum for several years now, but I find myself where I'm looking at the conservative candidate and thinking, I don't trust him. I don't like him. I don't think he's got more than a catchphrase up his sleeve. And now that the terms of that catchphrase have been removed, you know, so the cap on housing, the carbon tax, like all that's been undone. Okay, what do you got? What's your plan?
Right.
Well, fuck. All that's left is to eat an apple and fucking yell at reporters, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's scary for conservatives. I think that their advisors, their campaign managers and stuff they're probably fucking reeling right now.
Yeah,
because for so long they had this so easy. It was so in the bag.
For 10 years, you literally had to do nothing but disagree with what the other guy did.
Right. That's you had to promise nothing to people except for that it wasn't going to be that way.
You literally just had to criticize.
You were going to just basically deregulate and reverse, basically 8-9 years of Canadian government, and that was enough. That was enough to pull high. And now, yeah, you're 100% right. They're sitting back thinking, well, what the fuck do we really have to offer? All we've done is shit on liberal ideas for 9 years.
Yeah.
Offered up really nothing except for, really nothing. They didn't, I mean, that was another funny thing.
Well, there was a reason that they lost the election the last time, right? And what did they learn from it? What have they gained from it? What plan do they currently have? Even at the provincial level, I'm really concerned, for as much as I admire that Danielle Smith stood up at the federal level against the Liberals. I see her letter today that a statement that she made to Mark Carney. And basically it's like, for the Albertan perspective, is we're going to fuck the environment or we're not going to play ball. We're just going to take our ball and go home. Right. Like get rid of the production cap or the emissions cap, get rid of the no new pipelines, get rid of the zero net car thing. Like, I get that all those things probably should disappear, but there still needs to be something. There still needs to be some form of like,
well, that's one thing that
slow the
is
brakes a little bit on like the ass fucking that we're giving the environment a little bit.
that is one thing that I have a hard time.
Chad's on. Hey, good evening, Chad. How was the company? Thanks for joining us.
I have a hard time with that because when you read, I realize people don't want to be part of the Paris Accord. They don't want to be part of the Climate Accord. They don't want to be part of any of that shit. However, to be a global player in energy, these countries they're demanding these stipulations be on there. These climate whatever you want to call them.
Right.
They're demanding them be on there.
Right.
Their climate targets and things like that to be a global player. So you will severely going forward, at least until that changes, at least until the activists and stuff change that globally. In order to be part of the global market, you're going to have to accept some of these conditions.
Yeah.
So to get, and somebody, I forget who the heck it was now, they were telling me, they said, like the irony of the no pipelines and stuff, the first large pipeline in decades was built by the Liberals.
Built by the federal government, yeah.
Right? They bought it, they built it. There was cost overruns. There's all these things. And, it wasn't the way people wanted it to be, so they got mad at that. However, it still was done.
Look at every
right?
oil company in the history of North America. Tell me there's never been cost overruns, right? Like, yeah. I don't agree that there should be no new pipelines, but I also don't agree that there should be just an absolute free for all. You just bust your nut, and we just have 500 drilling rigs in Alberta all of a sudden,
right,
flooding the market, and we become Albania,
right.
That's not right at all. Yes, we should be a world economic power in oil and gas, in energy production. Yes, we should be a world economic power in coal and lumber. Yes, we should be a world economic power in agriculture. But those things all come with some balance, and they come with some level of restraint that's required. Otherwise, you reduce safety, you fuck the environment, you leave nothing for your grandkids. You're probably going to make a ton of cash that you're going to just absolutely waste.
See, and the thing with Alberta, even as such a young province, and Canada as a young country, we've already been there several times.
Yeah.
With in these booms, like I don't understand, and the 500 drilling is an excellent point. They ramped up and they built and they built and they built. And they took all these resources and they put them together and they built these drilling rigs and they built this mobile infrastructure to do all these projects. And then they shut them all down, and everybody was out of work. Like there was no plan to this. There was no long-term plan for sustainable growth and for long-term economic security. It was just like all or nothing, and that to me has never made sense at all to do that.
And that's the Albertan disadvantage. So if you go into Grand Prairie, or you don't even have to go as far as Grand Prairie. Go down the road to Hythe or Beaver Lodge and go look at these small communities that have infrastructure that's 50 to 60 years old. There's literally crumbling around them. And look at how many $85,000 to $100,000 vehicles there are parked in those, right? So any expendable wealth has just been like wasted. Like it's like you literally gave a kid money and said, go downtown. And where did they go? They went straight to the fucking candy store.
Right. 100%.
Yeah. Don't think about saving for your first home. Don't think about saving for your retirement. She's all going on fucking chocolate bars. But in the case of Alberta, it's going on snowmobiles, fucking Duramaxes, the fucking riverboat,
RVs,
whatever, right?
Trips. Second homes.
And at the governance level, it's no different. Like they're literally just hemorrhaging money on things, like, and getting nothing for it. Sinful, absolutely sinful. Whatever. It's not for me to say. I'm not any better. I waste money just as much as the next guy, but But that's why I'm not a politician.
Right. That's it. Aside from a chat in the study, there's really nothing. Nobody here has claimed to know the answer.
I mean, we're just criticizing as much as anybody, right? So
we parrot what we see,
but it will be interesting to see if, I heard rumor that a federal election is going to be called tomorrow. Did you hear that?
I heard that on the radio, actually. I think.
Right. So if that happens, what will the outcome of that be? So if the outcome of it is another Liberal majority government, there's a lot of unknown that comes with that. I think Eastern Canada probably will vote that way. But if you end up with a conservative government, I could definitely see, we could people like you, could not be politicians. I think if we end up with a conservative government, it would be a minority.
I think. How do you take that as? People like you couldn't be politicians?
It's Curtis. He's just being a jackass.
I thought he said you guys can't be politicians because people like you.
People like you. Yeah, exactly. People like us, right? If you're going to be a politician, people got to be hated, right? So,
but anyways, outcomes for
decent fucking human beings can't be politicians.
I do believe that. I was talking to this, speaking to this or whatever. Somebody said, "Well, how do you think that it goes? Do you think that people get into politics with the best intentions and they think they can make a difference, and only after they're into politics they become corrupted?" I
don't believe that. No, I believe that's the majority of it, but I think there's still certain individuals, one of whom is now the leader of a political party, who probably got picked on, and now has a power complex.
Sure. I don't think that I actually don't think that very many people are getting into this 100% thinking that they can do better for everybody with the best intentions. I think that the type of people that even run for this kind of stuff are at heart self-serving, corrupt fucking people.
Yeah.
I don't believe that they're, and here we go. Watch one day I take a fucking stab at running for something now. But I don't believe that. I don't think the type of people that want to put themselves into these positions, I think they're kind of rotten at the core to begin with.
See, I would love to put myself in a position where I could make a difference, a positive difference, but I feel so handicapped. Like, you just go into it handicapped because that you're walking into a serpent's den.
Right.
How could you possibly be so impactful and convincing? You'd have to be manipulative. You'd have to be a sociopath to convince all these people to go the direction you want them to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so very quickly, whatever good intentions you have turn into, basically backstabbing, self-serving, and you end up the bad guy. Very quickly, you end up the bad guy, right? But I think even the good guy, if the good guy goes in, the character assassination happens just so very quickly.
Sure.
Again, fucking before Carney was even before he was even proposed as a potential candidate, was just like the assassins were out, right? And I'm not saying he's the best thing or the worst thing or whatever. Again, I think it remains to be seen. But yeah.
Well, I thought a week ago when I had this conversation with a few people. Now, this is not my personal wishes or whatever, but just what I believe from what I saw is had the earlier he called an election was the better chance that the Liberals would get a majority government.
I would agree with
I think
that.
The longer he waits, the longer it's going to be, the less the more their momentum is going to wane, and all of a sudden they're going to be just back to being that Liberal Party that's hated in the West, loved in various ridings in the East, mistrusted by a large or misunderstood at this point now by a large percentage of the central population of the country, and then the Conservatives will have time to retreat, reorganize, and then come back with something else. And then most likely, if they don't call the election right away, which, like you said, we heard maybe possibly as early as tomorrow, then you're going to end up with an actual battle going into the election, close in the polls, and then most likely come up with a fucking very split minority government, and nothing will happen for 4 years. We got to see what's going to happen with Carney. I've heard that already several MPs offered to resign their fucking in their ridings and let him just take them, the Liberal stronghold ridings. No different than what fucking Danielle Smith did in Alberta.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
That's the other thing that gets me. Fucking Kim Campbell was not fucking elected either.
Yeah.
Right. And so people have been saying this to me too. Well, the fucking guy's unelected. Yes and no. They said, what, 154,000 Liberals voted him in?
Yeah.
The Canadian people, like it or not, voted in the Liberal government to lead the country.
Yeah.
So it would have been the same fucking situation if Justin Trudeau had died.
Right.
They would have had to. I mean, maybe in that case, the deputy prime minister would have stepped up. Maybe not. I don't know. They would have probably ran anyways. They would have had to. They would have had to run again. Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's not. As, I don't like the situation either. I don't. I think it's pretty fucked up that you have a person who doesn't have a seat leading the country without a general election.
Yeah,
I think that's. But the situation was fucked, and everybody wanted Trudeau gone.
Sure.
And he said, "I'm going to fucking resign as soon as we appoint a new leader."
Yeah, totally.
So I mean, it all happened in step. There was really nothing really mischievous about it.
No,
it just the situation is not so good. I do wish as soon as he was sworn in, at the end of the speech, he would have said, "Okay, and now we're going to call a federal election." I don't know why he flew to Europe.
That would have created a lot of credibility for him. Immediately would have created a lot of credibility for him.
I think
the whole flying to Europe thing, that's been largely his undoing.
Right.
People have recognized that you're not an elected official. You just cost the Canadian taxpayers $500,000
right
for your little flight to Europe. For what? Because you're not really an elected official to go. Yeah, exactly. And the Canadian people still realize, well, one person changed in the federal Liberal government. The whole rest of the government that's responsible for the undoing of our economy is still sitting there.
Right.
So that is worrisome. It is troublesome, right? So yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how this whole thing unfolds. I think we're at a point in time in history right now where this is the precursor to the historical moment. We're in the time where something big is about to happen. I don't know what that's going to be, but
I'm going to have another.
Are you going to have
another finger pour? I think. Are you going to join me? Or
I you know what? Why not?
This is a mighty fine whiskey.
I will enjoy that. Yeah, thank you.
Like it is
just about the same would be lovely. Thanks, sir.
This is.
Did you care to?
I'm going to add a splash.
Chad,
you're still in here. We I don't know where this come from. I think this did I bring this from the Hunters?
I think you brought it.
I think the Hunters dropped this off.
Yeah, I certainly didn't bring it.
And we kind of went into it a little bit skeptical. It's a little lighter amber than the ones that have proven to be very sweet, easy drinking whiskeys. But this has definitely hit the top 3 for me.
What I find is unusual, we talked about the palate and how we have never really hit the notes of the palate. I remember we went to the whiskey tasting, not this last time, but the time before, the time when I
slightly more
was
refined,
in better condition, because it was just Scotch, wasn't any of that other peanut butter nonsense, right? But I tried the Glenlivet 14, actually. I tried this very whiskey at the whiskey tasting, and I didn't think it was much. But since then, we've had 30 different whiskeys.
Sure.
And I honestly do think it's very close to the top. So.
Chad's not a Scotch guy.
He's a whiskey guy. Whiskey with an E.
Whiskey with an E.
So then he's not up for Scotch because there's no E.
No.
Yeah.
No. Did you ever come up with the proper term for what the water reacts with the whiskey, with the scotch? See, I called it alchemy for like multiple lives until you were like, fuck, man, that's to do with gold. I did look it up after that because you pissed me off so much because you
Did I
let me-
really?
well, you always do that. You let me get away with using words improperly. However, it did apply to this too. It's not specific to gold.
Okay.
That's like the 99%, but it can be used. It can be.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, but I would appreciate a correction sooner than later.
The term is miscibility.
Missability.
Yeah. So the
All right.
ability for a product to blend with water.
Missability. Every time you pour water into the scotch, it just clouds around in there.
It's like smoke.
And it's really impressive.
Yeah.
And it's not alchemy.
It's not alchemy necessarily, but
It's missability. And now I know two things.
there you go. How's this cigar at the final end?
It went out.
You're struggling with it?
I have relit it once before.
Mine's starting to. It's really starting to soften up here at the end.
We didn't get into the band though either. Quick interruption, but the band was actually pretty nice.
The band is actually nice. Yeah, I
one of your run of the mill
I
cigars.
peeled mine off because it was too tight to actually slide off. But
Well, I got mine slid down. I had to slide it down to hold the cigar together.
yeah, I'm gonna have to figure something out different for the bands because I thought this was gonna take us years to fill up, but like it's pretty much full of bands.
It is.
So now I don't know what to do with this. Like this bottle's from the 1920s. Do I just like literally just
Well, we can't do that.
smash it open and then do something different with them? Or
Well, you're gonna have to go.
but I seen a fella on TikTok today. He makes mead. So they've been keeping their cigar wrappers in a mason jar, and then he eventually just took them and glued them all put them up in a picture frame.
Okay.
Right, just something cool. So
Yeah, I was thinking that too. You see a lot of people doing that with the acrylic or whatever. What's it called? Yeah. Lay that.
hodgepodge. So that's not what the word I'm looking for.
They make coffee tables out of it, but they're like
Macrame or not macrame.
see-through. What is that called?
Like
Acrylic?
epoxy.
Epoxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you could do that, eh?
Yeah.
We should do that one day.
We could do that on the top of the desk.
Top of the desk, whatever. Build a little frame around it, lay them all out, pour that on there, let it sit. It'd be all bubbly and terrible, and we wouldn't know what we were doing, but whatever.
It probably would be fucking terrible.
It'd be awful.
Yeah.
They'd be all fucking wrinkled.
It would be full of they'd be
We'd rush it. Be a disaster.
If it were me doing it, yeah, I would get that idea at 9:00 at night. I would come up here and fuck it right up.
And
And
you'd
then
be laying in a pile yourself because you didn't put a mask on. You breathed all that shit in.
20 hours with a fucking sander trying to get it off of there. $300 worth of epoxy. Like shit. Well,
No, I think that you've done one hell of a job with the old renovation and the decoration. I don't even mind the old flag across here. I think this is mighty top shelf.
the camera there, like that doesn't do it justice to what's actually here.
It
You
doesn't.
know, I wish
But it does look cool. Like I really even looking into the laptop and looking back, like it's pretty nice.
I'm gonna play with the camera settings a little bit more. I gotta get it so you can see the color, right? Because that to me is the color makes it all, right? Like
It does. It really does. It could be a little too dark. I don't know if a guy fired up the other ring light or even the one on the camera.
I forgot that one's not even on. Yeah,
might pop a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's really nice. It is a really nice space up here.
nice atmosphere. The
You just kinda
fireplace.
hang out.
Yeah,
Just kind of hang out, talk about shit. Nobody had opinion on Canadian politics. Where do you guys think? What do you think Carney's future as the leader of Canada? How long? It's good. It's going to be at least a month, right? Once he calls an election, I don't think they're going to get that rounded up.
yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so
I think 6 to 8 weeks probably till you can actually get a thing, right? So
So he's going to be the leader of Canada for at least a month.
yeah. Curtis said adding water to whiskey is called cutting. Yes, it is called cutting, but
I was looking for the scientific
the actual
term.
scientific term to what the whiskey does or the water does when it hits the whiskey.
You know, like malleability or pliability or
Basically,
malleability.
when you look into it, and it just does this, like spirit fingers inside your glass, right?
And you can really see it, and it's amazing. It doesn't do it when you pour the whiskey, and it doesn't do it now that the water is in it. It only does it as the water's getting to where it needs to be.
As the two blend together, yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
But,
that is a thing. Emulsify. Yeah. So emulsifying is when you take two objects that are not miscible, like oil and water, and you blend them or shake them together until they form one consistent product. You see that lots in oil and gas. You have an emulsion. Or if you get water in your engine and what happens to your motor oil, and it turns to chocolate milk, that is an emulsion.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's your science fact for the day.
This fucking guy here. Learn something. I always leave here with a whole bunch more knowledge than I came with.
Science was my second favorite subject after English, actually. So. Nobody wants to touch it.
Everybody's
because
they're like, oh fuck, man. I don't want to have it. I don't want to be Garen.
It's nitroglycerin, right? Like to touch that, you could be fucking canceled right away. The internet could jump all over you, right?
Well, you're in good company here. Put it out there.
Yeah.
Right? You want to put I love Carney and a couple of Canada flags beside it. You do you. Whatever you want to do.
I'm apprehensive because, you know, so now there's an election looming, and I'm looking at, you know, who we've got to choose from. This is probably the first time since coming to Canada I really have voter anxiety.
Oh, yes.
You know, because I'm not a liberal voter, that's for sure, right? I'm not on that side of the fence. But I look at my local MP and I think, what has that individual done to further the interests of our region? Nothing. I look at the leader of that political party and I see slogans and catchphrases, but I don't see action and I don't see a plan and I don't see, you know, I just see somebody that's going to end up potentially in a seat and then be like, oh, fuck, what do we do now? Well, here comes the scissors, right? Cut. That's not the solution either. And then the third option, well, jag meat there. I just, you know, I really struggle with the guy that got into bed with somebody specifically just to further the political gains of the party.
Sure.
And just a kind of a grease ball.
That particular individual, I have a tremendous more amount of fucking distrust than even the other two, because it's just like, you know, and especially where, like, if you've watched his take on his personal social media or what, maybe not personal, but his social media,
his individual social media,
more driven to his, you know, to his really close supporters, and I'm thinking like, fuck, there's no way this guy can fucking lead the country. Like he's just kind of fucking all over the place.
Yeah, I don't see him coming out as a strong leader.
I honestly don't think anyone will be able to deal with Trump. The guy makes decisions based on pride and showmanship. People talking shit about him just makes it worse.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a very good point.
Doug Ford had better luck going up against Trump than our actual prime minister. So
right. I think yeah, you're right. I don't think any individual will be able to take this fucking guy on. However, I think globally he'll get reined in sooner than later. Yeah. Seems like the pendulum swings more to the extremes nowadays.
That's definitely, I've seen lots now, like, you know, and that's beyond politics. That's just everything. It seems like you're either one thing or you're another, right? So if you don't agree with one thing, well, then you must be you must be a raging liberal. You want to
Mhm.
have drag queens in fucking schools, right? Like if you want to take guns out of schools, you must want to put drag queens in,
Right, and
you
that's
know?
100%.
Right? And there's no like, hey, I don't want to have drag queens in, but I also don't want to have guns in schools, you know?
And some of the I was trying to explain algorithms to some old boys there the other day, and they were saying like how can people think that their train of thought and their viewpoint is the reality. And it's really scary with social media because as you start to interact with ideas that are very much in line with your own, then that starts to be all that you see.
Sure. Yeah,
All
you're a
that you
creature of
see,
your
right?
environment, right?
And then all of a sudden you're months into this where you actually believe that everybody thinks this way because this is the only thing that you see on the internet. So you got to definitely keep your eyes open to both sides. But I have certainly seen on both sides, the left and the right, what the hell is, I've seen it, that graph called before where it's like the left, center, and the right. There's a,
Like a Venn diagram.
yeah, something like that. But it was called something else. And they said like, this is how the center became far
Oh,
right.
I know
And they
what you're
shifted
saying. Yeah,
the whole fucking
they
thing.
move the graph. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so in they were talking about that chart or whatever
Bell
it was,
curve. Yeah.
something like that, and they said you can't be center left, center right. You gotta pick a side. And I thought like that's
Mhm.
fucking a pretty extreme thing to say, and you're 100% right. You can
Yeah.
stand up and be like, you know what, I don't think A is true, and they're like, well, you fully support B.
Right.
Well, no, what I fucking said
Yeah.
was I don't think that
Yeah. I mean, if you go, whatever, we'll see if we get canceled immediately after I say this. But if you say there's two genders, well, you're immediately a fucking Nazi.
100%.
Like
100%.
Yeah.
Like you are fucking swastika burning fucking crosses.
Right.
Like just full on fucking extreme.
Yeah. JB said also in the short term, people are fixated on hating Trump. I think if the election is held further away, people will focus on Canadian issues. Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's the boogeyman right now, right? Like that's essentially.
I don't like the fucking guy.
I don't like the guy either. I don't.
Kinda focused
I'm
on
really
that.
I'm really shocked that he got elected to begin with.
We were talking about that like shortly after he got elected.
Surprised
I didn't see that coming.
I did not see that. I wasn't even sure how, like, with the whole charges and everything, like the felony charges, like how he was even going to be allowed to run. But it is what it is. Like that's the situation. And it wouldn't have mattered to me one iota up until the point where he says, "Yeah, we're basically going to challenge Canadian sovereignty, and we're going to acquire Canada. It's going to become a 51st state, one way or the other." Then it's like, okay, well, yeah, you will start to see people get some pride, right, and be like, absolutely not. What's Chad saying? Our economics are so intertwined. This tariff stuff will gut both of us. We would take decades to uncouple and go our own ways. The resulting depression out of this would be unbelievable. Well, that's how it happened the first time, right? Like the tariffs during the dirty 30s really kind of sowed the seeds for the economic basement, essentially. But a whole bunch of real bad stuff happened right around the same time.
Sure.
World War II. Fuck, like what a terrible thing. Gosh, I sure hope that's not the precursor we're going for.
Well, yeah, see that was certainly a different time. I mean, they were just coming off of the first fucking war. That was still fresh. I mean, there was a lot happened from the 1900s to the 1950s.
Yeah.
That was a massive
that's true.
time for the West.
First World War, most of the European monarchies become disassembled. The revolutions occurred, and they become, to some degree, democracies. Right. So now what we have today, although it has the title of a democracy, I don't think we're living in a democracy.
No.
You think about, as an individual voter, how does your vote count?
Mm-hmm.
With the way we currently have the first past the post politics, like your vote doesn't really count.
No.
Right. So you can vote all you want, but unless that party wins the whole riding, then you're not getting a seat, right? So glad he's not carrying a pile of debt right now. Price insured my calves for this fall and don't regret it one bit. I'm guaranteed one more good year no matter what. Yeah, a lot of people think I shouldn't say a lot of people, but there are a few people that when they really get into deep conversations with me and they find out that I've got 2 years of food stored at the farm, they think that's a little bit strange. But that's exactly why. Is like to some degree, I want to be able to weather an economic storm, and I may not be able to make payments, but at least I won't starve to death, right?
Yeah, and future production on hitting the ground as we speak, right? Like it's not. It is definitely a time to be more self-aware of how you handle adverse conditions.
Yeah.
And we did a whole live about that. I mean, that was one of within the first 10 that we did of being in control and being self-sufficient and things like that, and the importance of it. That was already 2 years ago. That was
2 years ago.
It was post-COVID, I suppose.
Post-COVID, yeah. I mean, we weren't. It's strange to think that we look at that. That was probably 2 years ago now, closing in on 3. Probably 3. Yeah, we must have been doing this for 3 years.
I'm gonna have to look back.
How economically we were in a better place.
Yeah.
Right. Like it wasn't a good time. Like it certainly wasn't the good old days, but we were in a better position as a nation than we are now. So interesting to see what's going to come. Still chewing on it, eh?
I'm still working through.
I put mine down.
You give up?
Yeah. It was just wasn't working.
I was gonna smoke it right down to the band.
Wasn't
but
working
and that's funny. People, we are no longer amateurs at this, because I picked that up and I said you're gonna get 2 hours smoke time out of that.
And he nailed it.
And it's 2 hours and 16 minutes, and I bet you we didn't light them for about half an hour after I said that. So
the last time I went into Cedar Gems, actually, in Grand Prairie, I talked to the lady there, and I was asking for something very specific, and they didn't have it, which was a shame. But then I was like, well, what else you got? And she's like, well, she kind of engaged me with a conversation. I was like, whoa. Like, let's just back up. Like, I'm an amateur. I don't know. Like, we smoke them. We enjoy them. I have my opinions on it, but like, I can't come in with an opinion on something I've never tried before. And she's like, well, that's a first. Most people that come in, they've had 2 cigars before. They're self-professed expert, essentially, right? So, but yeah, you're all right. Like, I think that's the Dunning-Kruger effect right there, right?
100%
is the more you know, the less you kind of have confidence in a thing, right? So
and that's exactly it. And I think it's probably because you've realized that you know a little bit, but you also know that you've only scratched the surface of it.
You've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah. You've read a book and you've done a thing and you've invested in a thing, and you're like, holy shit, I'm only here on a scale of here in this whole entire thing, right? Whereas I can fully see that, a guy would roll in and be like, no, I was in Cuba once.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear your shit. This is what I want.
There's guys that keep their cigars in a Tupperware, and they've just got they call plume on them, right? It's fucking moldy, and
it's quite clearly ready to walk out of the fucking Tupperware container.
And they're like, "Oh, that's still good. That's still good." Yeah. Your lungs may not agree with you.
I was actually just talking to a guy, and he was like, "So it was just a couple of hockey games to go to tonight. Maybe one in the Grand Prairie Storm are playing tonight, and there's some local teams playing in playoffs."
Sure.
Said, what are you doing, man? You having your whiskey or whatever? And I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna have my whiskey." He was talking about cigars, and I kind of just left it alone because I was like, "There's 500 cigars back there and 2 humidors." But I just
for sure it's a couple hundred for sure.
I let him talk. It's like good deal.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
I know I'm not going to get anything out of you,
Right.
You're not going to get anything out of me.
You're just trying to find common ground, or?
Well, I think it was like, I think he wanted to get into like a whole dialogue on cigars.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I was like, no, we got quite a few, but that's kind of where it ends.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be able to name you even 5 of them.
Right.
So,
Right.
It's kind of just a thing.
We're not in it for the prestige or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just a thing. It's
we're in
fun
it for
to
the
do,
experience. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It's something now that when people say I'm going somewhere, instead of I'm have a nice trip, I say bring me back a cigar.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah. Yeah. Chad said the inflation right now is sure ramping up, regardless of what the media says. It's shock and awe going to buy parts and such again. You know, I remember the first round of price increases that happened in the COVID era, and a lot of that was on, the narrative was like, well, the inflation's gone through the roof. But how much of that's true inflation, and how much of that is retailer greed? I still question that to this day. That, if you look at the inflation percentage versus the price increase percentage, the two don't seem to line up.
No. This is like a little bit of a tangent from this, but kind of segues into it because it's the cost of everything is dependent on this. So our local arena needs some infrastructure investment for sure.
Yeah.
To the tune of about $2 million. And there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, I really only know this because my wife is very much involved in all things that her kids do. Our kids decided to play hockey, so she became part of the Hythe Minor Hockey, also part of the athletic board, so on and so forth. So anyways, she was doing some research, and I believe in one of the options to raise this money is maybe naming rights for the facility.
Right.
Maybe naming rights for the dressing room, things like that. So her and some folks have looked out into the community to find out what kind of revenue this can generate. And now I'm pretty sure I got this all right. Of course, never quote a guy, especially a guy just sitting here rambling. Now, I think one of the facilities locally here, $500,000 a year for 10 years.
For New Vista?
$5 million.
Yeah.
For the naming rights. Naming rights are of a fucking local trucking company. And I'm thinking to myself, now there's all this philanthropy, civic duty, community involvement, engagement, support.
Yeah.
I'm split on this. I think it's great that companies give back. I'm just a little concerned on how fucking much money you're making to be able to do that. That shocks the shit out of me.
Yeah, I don't believe in naming rights. I really don't. I think it's I think you're buying permission. I think that's what so large industrial companies buy permission to do, I wouldn't say terrible things necessarily, but so New Vista, right, has naming rights of the recreation center in Beaver Lodge. Well, they built a massive sour natural gas facility right outside the fucking town of Beaver Lodge. Right? Does that not jeopardize the health and well-being of the citizens? And I say that having all humility because I work in that industry. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's risk there.
Well, it's back to what we were saying. I mean, you can have an opinion without being extreme.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I think what companies do is they try to curry favor in a community so that when shit goes wrong, they can be like, hey, we invested all this money in your, so shut the fuck up, right? Like,
and I believe that's a very large part of why they do things. But back to the sheer dollar value of it. People say, oh, look how great they are for the community. They just donated $1 million. But on one hand, I'm thinking, how in the fuck do they have $1 million of extra money to donate? Yeah. Like, don't you think that, and it was, when I was talking about feed earlier and shaving those margins, don't you think that it's maybe better for your community to shave your margins, return that $1 million back to the entire community of your supporters, of your customers, and let them do their own philanthropy, instead of, whoever, say a large chain donating on behalf of their customers. Grocery stores are fucking famous for this. You want to donate another $1?
Right.
and Save On Foods donates $10 million fucking dollars to whatever. Maybe just knock the price off the fucking groceries
Maybe
and
make the
let
groceries cheaper.
Blooms donate $50 to their local fucking arena on behalf of themselves,
Yeah.
instead of Save On Foods taking the money to some fucking where else where they're headquartered and donating money there. I really got to thinking about this over the last few months, you know, and certainly with our little business as well. Now we get quite involved with 4-H and then youth sports that our kids are involved in. And then we kind of ended at that. Like, it's agriculture. You can't, I mean, and we get asked quite a bit, you know, can you sponsor this? Can you sponsor that? And you eventually do got to say no. But one of the biggest sponsorships that we get is on the fact that we are told most often we're around $150 to $200 a ton cheaper. So if for every 1,000 tons, you've put $200,000 or $150,000 back into the local economy.
Back into the economy.
Right into people's pockets, and let them do with it. And I mean, and that's all in relation to what they spend, right? If you come and you spend $20,000, obviously you put more back in your pocket than the guy that's bought one bag for $47.
That's right.
And I just, to me, it blows my mind that companies, if that's not just fucking, they're not taking that out of their own genes either. That's out of their profit that they're able to put $5 million back over 10 years.
Well, that's the thing. Like, nobody has a spare $1 million laying around. That's barely a drop in the ocean.
Right.
Like, they've already returned to the shareholders, and they've already cashed out dividends, and they've already done all that stuff.
It's unbelievable.
Right.
And so with that, that's, you know, you're talking about how much of it is greed or whatever with this inflation. A lot of it isn't just inflation. Like that revenue came from somewhere, and that excess profit, not just revenue, not just net income, that excess profit, to be able to turn that back and donate it. Now, it is nice that they're donating it back, but like I say, as a devil's advocate, maybe they shouldn't have had why did they generate that much money in the first place?
Right.
Okay, and maybe they were only billing the oil company. Well, in turn, the oil company's only billing, and this shit always segues down to the lowest of the low, and that's us.
Sure, it is. Yeah.
Right, the consumer at the bottom is paying for all of this shit all the way through. There's sticky fingers all the way. It's just, I was really shocked to see such shitty facilities in our community with naming rights on all sorts of donations and stuff, and I'm thinking at such high dollar amounts.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're not just talking about writing a check for $2,500. These people are writing checks for $25,000, $250,000, $500,000, and signing 5-10-year deals.
Yeah. Well, I remember when where the new fire hall is in Beaver Lodge, we purchased that land from UFA, right? And so what the land was worth versus what we purchased it for less than what it was worth. We still paid for it,
right?
And a lot of money for that lot. Well, UFA came back and they said, well, we want to put our decals on your fire trucks. And I downright refused. I was like, absolutely fucking not. It is a fire truck. It's not a race car. It's not fucking NASCAR. You're not put it
on the window.
You want to put your sign on the side of the fucking yard or whatever to say that the land was, in cooperation with. Sure. But you didn't donate fuck all. Like, you maybe give us a bit of a deal on the land, but you're certainly not going to get your name on the side of a fire truck. So that was a whole nother level of entitlement at the corporate level that it just blew my mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, like that's fucking idiocracy again, right? Like,
oh, that is totally funny.
This crop is brought to you by Brondo, like, yeah.
I see we weren't the only folks that watched that video. I sent you that TikTok about that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
I laughed and laughed when I seen that.
That is a good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could just see you racing out to a fire with his fucking... This UFA emblem across the windshield is inconvenient.
But I sure isn't good.
I do love UFA.
I do love purple diesel fuel. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild actually how like the attitude is now more like you should exercise gratitude.
Right.
Right. and it should. I think people should exercise gratitude, but it should be done freely. Right?
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
you shouldn't be called upon. Like I just seen the whole thing about the United States and the spokesperson for the White House, right? Well, you've seen. I think you've seen that video too, right? So, well, are you going to give back the Statue of Liberty?
Oh, sure.
And well, no, France should exercise some gratitude, or they'd be speaking German. Well, no, like
Right.
that's not the case. Like, you read a fucking book for once in your life. Woman.
Well, yeah, I had to make a response to that. You know, I mean, and I think we can probably understand that most of these folks aren't too strong with reading. So, fuck, throw in a VHS or a DVD,
Well,
fire
I
on the
mean,
Patriot.
yeah,
That's
I mean,
something I'm sure you'll be able to find at the fucking store is the Patriot. I'm sure that's on everybody's
Yeah,
fucking shelf
like
already.
It's not 100% historically accurate, but I mean, you get the gist of it.
If
right?
if you never even watched it, I'm sure you bought it because of the title.
You could
So
you
just
could
unpackage it, throw it in. In there, you're going to see that one could certainly argue a fairly good point that
listen to a freaking audiobook even if you don't want to read one, right?
it stands to reason that you maybe just exist because some folks in blue coats landed on your shores.
Maybe just helped you out a little bit there, yeah.
But
Yeah. Oh. That's a damn fine whiskey.
that is a good whiskey, and that was a good cigar. 2.5 hours in. I would say we got basically 2 hours smoke time and another.
Oh, Chad says checking cows at 5 a.m. is whooping his ass. Not sure why I brought bred heifers instead of cows. Babysitting heifers is dumb shit. Them old cows seem to do fine. Yeah, you're buying bred heifers. I mean, you're buying yourself a job there for sure. I mean, I can't speak. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do see problems. I'm getting up at, I usually go for an 11 p.m. check, a 1 a.m. check, and a 5 a.m. check.
I hand it to you producers. I check once every 2 weeks, Sunday at about 4 o'clock
Yeah.
in the afternoon. That's when I check.
The emus? Or?
No, just my bins.
Okay.
You just plug that machine in once every 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Make sure the temperatures are good.
Yeah.
And I book another holiday. I am not cut out to be a livestock producer. In no way, no how. I've like the amount of fucking death that we've encountered for the amount of animals we have is astonishing. Like we could be into livestock for the next 20 years and never fucking break even. We struggle at every point of it. We haven't lost a goat yet.
Sure.
But
you have goats?
We have 2 fainting goats. We haven't lost one of them yet. We also haven't lost an emu yet, but we've yet to see an emu egg.
Right.
Apparently that should have happened within the last 6 to 8 weeks.
Right.
So that's been discouraging. We're good on our 5 steers. They're all still alive. We lose the leghorns one every couple of weeks for some odd reason. I don't think they're real hardy.
Like they're just dropping out of the roosting bars? Or?
Yeah. So what else did we lose? Yeah, no, we don't do well on that. Next year, we're going to have to set things up a little different. I think that's what's going on with the emus right now. They're penned in with them steers. And while they do all get along, I think their steers create too much stress.
Certain level of stress there.
So
yeah.
I think if we could get Phil and Rosie off on their own, then there might be some production there. Although I don't know what the fuck I do with an emu egg anyways. It's not a big deal.
Scrambled eggs.
There. Or the one lady, she said she cracked one and she felt like Wilma Flintstone, just fucking
no doubt, yeah,
big old egg. But apparently they are just eggs, so you can eat them.
Yeah, you can eat them. I've seen people on TikTok doing it. Like it's literally like they smash the fucking thing and it fills the whole frying pan.
But I still would like to. I'd still would like to see one. Then the other thing we were thinking is maybe something's getting them. Like they only lay out like 1 or 2 or 3 or something fucking eggs, anyways.
A year?
Yeah, I think so. They're not a productive.
They're not like a daily layer. They're
no, God no. So
that's probably a lot of calcium that goes into that shell.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like these are fairly hardy fucking birds. Like I don't know in the wild what their diet consists of. Like they're I think they're like an Australian bird.
Yeah, the emus.
Yeah,
are they? Yeah, maybe they are. I was gonna say, aren't they from New Zealand? But maybe they are.
Yeah, it's over there somewhere.
Somewhere there, yeah.
But I mean, we're giving them a pretty decent diet, I think. Of we did a little bit of research on what they should have. I know the guy said feed them
Yeah.
rabbit pellets. So
I don't know what the fuck you would give them. I don't know.
we
I
were
wouldn't
giving
even
them
know.
we were giving them the chicken feed. They really like the ration the cows are getting right now, and then we give them the rabbit pellets too. So they have a wide.
Yeah. Do they
Right.
eat the alfalfa cubes? Is that what? Or
I never took one up. I guess I should have.
would they choke on that?
Well, probably not. Their fucking neck is
It's
this big
huge.
around.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know how that. I guess they just swallow it and grind it up.
Because that bag of alfalfa pellets I got from you there, I thought for sure the sheep were gonna choke on that. Like they just went that. They went after that like it was fucking Timbits.
They were a big fan.
Oh, they just all over that. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like alligators just.
Well, they look really good, those cubes,
So-
and they smell. They're quite aromatic. Like when you open the bag, it's like opening a bag of fucking coffee. It's,
Yeah. Yeah.
right in there.
I mix that with the grain and the molasses now, and then it's just more of a balanced.
Mm.
It's like a pick and mix. They don't just get like a whole bag of candy. They get some broccoli in there too.
Sure.
So,
Right. Sure.
yeah.
Interesting.
What do you say?
They're on
On their own between 10 p.m. and 5 p.m. I'd love to do that, but the yellow book we have tells me that 2 a.m. is the witching hour,
Okay.
and 5 a.m. is also the witching hour. So historically, the majority of our lambs have been born either around 2 a.m. or 5 a.m. So we always try to do the checks just after 1 to see if anybody's looking like they're going to be a thing, and then we come back out at 5.
That barn was a game changer for you, eh?
Oh, it's a huge game changer.
Instead of fucking forging through
I
the
remember
snow down to the pallet.
the first
building.
the first year, the pallet building, like, fuck, what a terrible show that was. Like, oh, the prevailing winds come to the southwest. We'll just face it this way, 3-sided shelter. This is gonna be fantastic. The worst thing ever. So the first winter was there with like 6 mil poly plastic trying to sheet in the front of it to keep the wind off of them. They all survived. How they survived is beyond me.
That was a pretty tough winter too.
That was
right?
a tough winter. Yeah, that was an El Nino winter. Like it was like snow, so much snow, and 40 below like the whole time, right? So
You know what was always so crazy to me about it? It was before I was ever here. I was watching that YouTube, and I thought, like, holy fuck, man, that's like a big building. Like, with just the way you had filmed in it. Like, I thought it was a big building, like a big fucking nice.
it's
Building.
it's 24 feet. Like it's long,
And then, well,
but you can't stand up in there.
it looked like so big.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, when I seen it, I was like, oh fuck, that's really not what it appears to be.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Well, I haven't dismantled it, but like the roof's coming apart on it or whatever. I'm gonna have to re-tin it here, but now it's just like if they're out in the pen, they can go in there and just get out of the wind or whatever.
Mhm.
That's it. But most of the time, I just leave the tarp strap on the barn door, and they can just go in the barn, and it doesn't really serve a purpose anymore. It's just reminiscent of where we started, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Reclaimed pallets. I traded a guy who worked with a flat of fucking Lucky Logger for all the tin on the roof. So
Nice.
now all that tin's coming off now. I should go
That
see if you can give me some beer back.
all that stuff is nice. Even the ones those old lean-tos that we re-tinned, I thought, fuck, I wondered if it was worth it. I mean, I think it was like $5,000 worth of tin it took to do all that, but it really was.
Yeah,
Like,
it for sure is worth it to.
It saved that all.
Yeah.
I mean that now will be, my kids can get mad at me when they're 30 and be like, why the fuck didn't you just tear these down? But whatever, they can tear them down then. They're good for now.
I don't know if I'll get to that this summer. My big project is to get a hoe and get power to that barn. That's the wife wants to get water there too. I do too, but like that's a huge job to get water to that barn.
Mm. Where's the water going to come from? From the shop or from the house?
So there's buddy, the water, it comes from the well over here, comes directly to the shop, and then it before we even built the house, it cut across the yard at a 45-degree angle. And where we had planned to put the house, the wife was like, I don't want the house there. You got to move it back 20 feet. And we're like, well, the fucking water line's there. She's like, I don't care. I don't want the house this far forward, so move the house. So the house is built on top of a water line that goes across the yard. Thankfully, the house is never going to settle, but like Danger Bay, right? And so, yeah, we basically got to take the hoe and just fucking somewhere between the house and the fucking stock water over there where the lambing shed is.
Oh, you plan to find it?
And we'll just find it with the track hoe,
Okay.
and tee into it, and then put a hydrant over there by the barn, and maybe a stock water in behind the barn. That's the plan. So it's either that or we dig up at the water, and then run off of that. But that's a pretty long run. Might get a lot of pressure drop at that, right? So yeah, so we'll see. Regardless, I'll be digging holes this summer.
You can dig in holes.
Yeah, I've been looking for a backhoe. So they were selling for about 50 grand at Ritchie Brothers there. So
Might have to bring the old fucking Susie over here. It's got a fucking 14-foot digging depth.
Does it really?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you kind of need that every day though.
It doesn't get used that much now that you have the telehandler.
No.
I've been looking for a skid steer, but every fucking time I even consider bidding on one of those.
The price is unreal on them now.
Oh, you know?
Yeah.
I'm fucking real. Yeah, but you're right. The backhoe does get used a lot, but you just gotta plan.
Yeah.
To do it and just get the shit dug in a couple of days.
I found one on it. It's a John Deere 400 to 60 horse open cab, the backhoe on it, and it looks like it would reach 10 feet, but it's still $10,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you spend $10,000 and it's like, fuck, that isn't going to get down there.
Yeah.
Then you're stuck with a giant cavernous hole and didn't get to where you need to be.
Corey dug our water line in with a backhoe. I don't know. I think she dug it in a day. Like, I mean, it's not as far as you're going, but it's definitely doable.
Yeah, I dug ours in. I rented I shouldn't say I rented. I hired Deep Basin to bring a fucking full-size trackhoe here to run our water lines. And the guy just dropped it off and showed me how to run it, and then I just dug everything in.
Okay.
And then for the septic tank, I hired for the one for the house. I put the septic tank in here with Deep Basin's trackhoe, but the one for the house, I had Chad, what's his name there? Lives on Wheeler's Corner. I had him dig that in and put it in.
Chad Longson.
Chad Longson, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That was pretty handy. That's about the size of the machine. It's kind of just a little bit bigger than yours, I think. Yeah. That worked out really good.
Yeah, backhoe is actually kind of fucking handy for doing that.
Very, very handy, yeah.
The trackhoe is nice because you can just fucking keep moving, right? The backhoe, you gotta fucking up.
You constantly gotta rig everything up, move or fucking down again.
But
yeah. Chad say we bought a little trackhoe last month, a Simasuto. How big is that, Chad? Like is it one of those open cab units? And how deep does it go? Because I've seen them on the Ritchie Brothers or whatever. Or Weaver's got them too sometimes, or they're like 10 grand or whatever. But I'm just kind of nervous about them because they're like, fuck, could a guy ever get parts for it if anything breaks?
You might just end up getting like better quality parts, like just like revamping it all together.
Yeah.
You're kind of just buying the shell and the structure.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I know. Well, I might just rent one this summer. Just rent it for the week and dig everything a guy needs to dig and get it done. That's what I did last time. I just rented for the week and just fucking go to town.
Just dig.
Yeah. Yeah. It was different then, though. Like when we first moved in, a guy could rent whatever fucking wanted. Fucking genie boom, a fucking scissor lift, a fucking track hoe, whatever, and just dig a hole and just fucking whatever. It didn't matter. Now we got 2 little kids running around. That makes a huge difference,
No.
right? Like I find every day, even just just to do chores. The wife's like, "Oh, are you taking the kids with you to do chores?" And I'm like, I'm getting in and out of the tractor. Like I don't want to run nobody over. And
I know.
I get really concerned about that.
So you have a real fucking bad day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that is a good point. You need to, but yeah, guy. Also, yeah, you gotta be efficient at it, right? I know. I find most things I do end up not being so efficient. I'm getting quite good at coming to terms with understanding the things that are out of my realm of expertise or even time.
Right.
Like that's a big one. When I come home the other day and all the lights were out on the trailer of the Super Bee, I just parked it. There was a guy that got molasses. He's a neighbor from out there, and I know he used to be a trailer mechanic. So I just texted him. I said it's sitting in the fucking yard.
Yeah, just come figure this out.
When it's done, send me a bill. I can't. I mean, and it was amazing. I lucky enough, I was there when he got there, so he plugged the fucking thing into the end of that, and the green lights and red lights started flashing, and he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, I know what circuit it is."
Right.
He was there for a few hours for sure, over 3 days, but it was pretty laid back work. I said, it's fix it when you can. I don't really need it. So, but he got her all done. So that saved me. I mean, I didn't have that fucking tool.
No. Yeah.
The lights and shit on it.
No.
And then I didn't, right? I mean, he was taking shit off. He's like, yeah, no, this one's this one's that. And I was like, well, fuck, I'd have to Google which one's which. And then you get it wrong because you're on the wrong time Google
fucking
thing.
Around, yeah.
So now it's just that I had another bent piece from my rock ticker. I was gonna straighten that too, and I finally just loaded that up, took that over to Derek. Said, straighten this fucking thing, fix it, make sure it doesn't bend again. I'm getting pretty good at that now, and it's
well, that's when a guy's got to realize.
It's a time saver and it's a money saver in the long run.
Yeah, you do need to realize when you're beyond your capability, right?
And it could be anything. It even could just be mentally, like you're just tired. You're just tired now, and you just don't. It's not. And so then you delegate that out if you can at all.
Yeah.
Get away with doing that, and things change for the better.
Not even about wasting money at that point in time. It's just like, fuck, I got to get back in the field or get back, fucking whatever. Yeah, time is money. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Chad must have finally bailed off to bed, eh? We rented a fair-sized track hole for $750 a day. It was a Bobcat out of the rental place. It reached down pretty good. Now he's got his own little track hole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I thought you were going to bed, Chad. Fuck, I'm going to have to go to bed myself.
Yeah, that one we rented one from Keddy's, actually, a little mini hoe. And that's why I dug the power into the house with that one. And it had a long reach, but I found like once it got down there, it didn't have the jam.
Sure.
Right. So need something bigger. Yeah. Oh no, he's still there. He's headed that way. Wife is snoring on the couch. The first sleep, and then you have the second sleep in bed. My alarm went off at 1:15 yesterday, or this morning, I guess. And I was like, man, I had the best sleep ever. That never happens. I always feel like I got shortchanged, but today was not so bad.
Might find.
Well, should we let everybody go to bed?
That's been a good one. 2:45.
Yep.
Perfect. Time to shut her on down.
All right. Well, good night, everybody.
All right, folks. Thanks. Have a good night. Have a nap tomorrow. Take her easy, Chad.